Welcome to the Football Hipsters Podcast. A day late, but we're still here. Bet you thought you got away scot-free, didn't you? But no, here we are. I am your host, Kris, and welcome back to the show, as always, brought to you with our new partners this season, 4 Elements. 4 Elements offer branding, web design, marketing, and video production. So for any of your web-based needs, please visit Kris and the team at the 4 Elements website. You can also find them on Twitter, 4 Elements DES. So please look them up, show them some love, and tell them we sent you. Right, I have two guests for you this evening. Firstly, I welcome back my brand new button monkey is Mr. Josh Dorr. Hello, Josh.
Good evening, Kris. You've certainly called me worse in the past, so I'll take that.
I have, and any more Farkin jokes this week, and I will sack you with immediate effect. So think about that before you jump in two-footed. Also, we are delighted to welcome back Mr. Joel Melwar, fresh from his gallivanting around Spain to Clásicos and loving it up generally. Lauding it up is a better expression. So welcome back, Joel.
Good evening, Kris.
How was it, first of all? We have to touch on it. So obviously we'll touch on Barca later on, but not the best, was it, I guess?
No, results appalling, experience brilliant. Kind of expected Madrid to win over 2 legs, but not by 4 goals and kind of 5-1. So, yeah, it did highlight a massive difference, which obviously we'll come on to. But it's made it interesting this season. I think it's the first time Barca is starting completely behind Madrid from the very first game of the season, so we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, in terms of experience, it was fantastic. It's that level of football, and there's quite a bit of incident with the Ronaldo push and the referee and his goals and Asensio's 2 goals. It was really good to see, to be honest.
Good stuff. We will have a little natter about Messi, Ronaldo and Messi in the La Liga section later on, which, of course, we should let everybody know from the outset right now. This is the kind of all-new look FH podcast as of this week. We are aiming to record on a Sunday where we can, or sometimes on a Monday, so it might fluctuate depending on people's availability. So look out for our pods either on a Sunday night or a Monday night, or maybe even a Tuesday morning, depending on editing. But so we'll be as consistent as we can. And as of tonight, of course, this is the all-new meshed show, as it were. So all of our leagues are back across Europe. We will be covering Premier League in depth, which we'll come on to shortly, EFL, of course, and our usual trips around Italy, Spain, France and Germany, albeit with maybe slightly less insight on an expertise level. But tonight you've got Spain and France's finest. So we'll do our best to cover those leagues as usual. And, of course, we'll take the best of your questions. So let's jump in to the Premier League, Glenn, and start with the weekend's fixtures. Joel, I'm going to come to you first of all. And I want to start with the probably the big game of the weekend, which actually happened yesterday. I, of course, talk of the London derby between Chelsea and Spurs, or Spurs and Chelsea, at Wembley Stadium. So what did you make of it? Spurs falling to 2 goals from fullback Alonso for Chelsea. And a late goal at that, and the Wembley factor. Is it a thing? What did you make of the whole situation of the game?
2 things that I came away from it were Chelsea not as finished as everyone thought they were after the Burnley result. I thought they showed tactical discipline. I thought Conte proved he's a top coach in the way he set the team up. I think they showed character at 1-1. I also don't think the Wembley thing is a hoodoo or a jinx or a curse for Spurs. I actually thought they played really well. I thought 1-1. I know Lloris was to blame for the goal, and Alonso's second goal, and it was straight at him. I just feel he was naive in the ball that he played to Wanyama, and I saw on Sky Wanyama got a lot of stick for kind of getting dispossessed by David Luiz, but I didn't think it was the best pass to him. It was quite square into him, and that instant led to a goal. What's interesting, I felt Spurs at 1-1 should have just taken a 1-1. 4 points in the first 2 games. But they didn't. They weren't pushing. And it almost felt like at that point, and whether this is the Wembley factor, which is odd, that it was a bit of a cup tie. They seemed to kind of just think at 1-1, right, we need to go for a winner, when really, in all fairness, 1-0 against Chelsea, denying Chelsea 3 points, getting back in the game late as they had done, played quite well. A draw against Chelsea Wembley when they've supposedly got a jinx is a decent result. I just think they were quite naive in that sense and should have taken a draw. But full credit to Chelsea, they showed character at 1-1 to go again and get back in the game. And an unlikely scorer, to be honest, in Alonso to get two, especially. I know he's great at set pieces, but they needed something from somebody, I guess, and he stood up to it. So I think Spurs will be fine at Wembley. I think if they lose, I think they've got Burnley on Saturday. If they was to lose that, then maybe I'll completely change next week and say it is a thing. But I don't see it being that much of an issue. I know Pochettino's desperate to play it down, and I think I would if I was a Spurs fan or part of the Spurs team. So I think they will be fine. But it showed Chelsea to be what they are, which is a really good team. And I think they are 2 or 3 players short. I was particularly impressed with Bakayoko. I thought he played really well. He's different to Matic, and I think the media need to get over the fact that, Chelsea saw Matic United, it's happened, but they're going a different way with how they want to play, clearly, and Bakayoko kind of fits into that. He's a lot more dynamic than Matic. He may not protect as much as Matic did, but he will give them a bit more going forward. I think he showed that through the course of the game. But overall, I think Spurs will be disappointed, but not as disappointed as everyone thought they would be. I think everyone thought Chelsea could go there and 2 or 3-0 and with this Wembley jinx that supposedly exists.
Yeah, I've listened to Pochettino after the game, and he was saying that there isn't a jinx, and he did his best to play it off. And there is, I mean, we all know there's no such thing as a jinx in particular, but it makes for good copy in the journalism world and whatnot. But I think Spurs are going to have to just adjust to that pitch, and I think it's safe to say they'll probably get more good results than bad ones. But against the top teams, those are the differences. And as you say, the mistake that led to Alonso's winner in particular was poor all round. But nevertheless, good result that for Chelsea. Josh, what do you make of the projects of both sides as a comparison? I mean, do you sort of buy into the issue of Spurs not signing players and therefore have essentially being left behind from last year? And do you buy into Chelsea being a side that are still very much in a bit of a mess despite yesterday's result?
Yeah, it's certainly intriguing to see how Tottenham go this season. They have lost a high-profile player in Kyle Walker. With Trippier coming in, he's not the same quality as a wing-back. I think his crossing ability is a lot better in the air compared to Walker, but as we've seen Walker early in this season, his crossing is all about pulling it back to a player hovering around the penalty spot. I think overall they've just signed the kid from Ajax, what's his name, Sanchez?
Davinson Sanchez, yes.
That's
indeed,
the one, yeah. Who looks a really tidy player from what little I've seen of him, but very good, and I think he meets the philosophy that Pochettino was trying to instill there. Very good on the ball, also really quick as well. Will probably sit in the heart of a 3-man defence. That they'll go with Alderweireld and Vertonghen flanking him, which I think we'll see as the season goes on. Chelsea, on the other hand, I'm a little inclined not to feel any sympathy for Conte when he moans about squad depth. Perhaps it's bias coming in, but it's also look at the amount of players they've got out on loan. I know they need to bring in quality for that level, but we've seen other managers turn to their youth products and put them in. We saw Anders Christian have an absolutely wonderful game against Spurs this weekend, and I think there's a couple more players like that could be in that Chelsea squad and helping them out rather than needing to go back into the transfer market.
So it's a really sort of strange flux of what's going on at both clubs, because they're almost polar opposites in terms of what people think of their summer business. But Chelsea is still going to be very busy, it seems, before the window, and more on that later, of course. And I think Spurs are still in the market. It's whether they can get players. I know they are very keen on Anthony Martial at Manchester United, but I don't think that one's going to happen, particularly if Martial has this habit continue of rocking up and scoring goals from the substitutes bench. So we will keep an eye on that one. But it's Manchester United and Martial's club, of course, that I want to move to next. Joel, what's your thoughts on them? 4-0 victory over West Ham to open up the season, and there was two polarising reactions. Some people saying, yeah, absolute title favourites, bang on, they were brilliant, the world basically revolves around them and they're wonderful. And then there was those that I was in the camp of saying, yeah, they were excellent, they impressed me at times, they looked more fluid, but it was West Ham. And I think the same thing could be said exactly, really, of Swansea. Shipping, was it 3 goals in best part of 10 minutes at the end? Another good performance from Mourinho's men, but which side of that camp do you sit on, having watched their result on Saturday?
Yeah, I sit in the latter. I think, if we could have picked a start to the season in terms of fixtures, West Ham at home, kind of a home banker, go to Swansea, they've got a decent record at Swansea. I don't foresee this kind of being a signifier that they're going to win the league. I think the bigger test will come when they play, the top 10 opposition even, because I don't think you can count West Ham and Swansea as that. I think there's definitely an improvement in United, I think, from last season. I think Mourinho generally wins the league in his second season, does he not, or second or third season? So it's all made for him. But they've acquired well, and I think the players they've also brought in last season are a little bit more bedded in, the likes of Pogba, Mkhitaryan. So I think they'll be a lot stronger this season for that. But I do think the test will come later on. I think the one striking thing when you watch them is they just look so powerful. And I thought that on Saturday in the first half, they created a number of chances from set pieces, just balls into the box. And when I think they've got 4 or 5 players over 6'3". Now, I know that's not kind of what we expect from a United team to be good on set pieces, but that is such a big thing in both boxes. And I just think through the spine of the team, they've just got power, which is what you'd identify a Mourinho team to have. So, I do think they'll be top 4 for certain. I don't know if they'll go on. We can see at this point where they're going to win the league. Did see today that they're looking at signing Ibrahimovic. That's almost done again, which will be a massive boost for them in the second part of the season. To have him coming off the bench or even starting with Lukaku. So I think that'll be a big signing for them as well. Again, another guy who's over 6'3", 6'4". So it does look ominous that United are kind of back. I think that's the kind of thing that they are back to where we'd expect them to be, i.e. there or thereabouts. Because I think the last 3 or 4 seasons they've just been way off it. But this is probably the best squad they've assembled now, I think. And whether he gets this one more player he wants, i.e. even Perisic, who knows? That probably is dead, is it, in the water? But yeah, we'll see with him. We will see.
Yeah, I know everyone knows of my love for King Zlatan, but the man is a freak. Seriously, the stuff he's doing at this stage after that injury is just phenomenal. Like, he really is a freak of an athlete. And the only question mark of him coming back, of course, is will he be happy being number 2 to the world's greatest flat track? But no, I'm sorry, I'm joking, of course. But will he be happy to be Lukaku's number 2? We shall wait and see. Maybe at his age he'd be okay with that, but time will tell. Josh, I wanted to sort of ask you a bit just quickly on Swansea. Do you think they're in trouble? Straightforward question.
I think they are certainly one of those teams that you look at in the relegation zones. You think it's going to be you're kind of in that group of 3 other teams that exist in the Premier League already last season that are candidates to go down. I think it all depends on how they spend that Sigurdsson money and if they spend it. I know Paul Clement has come out and said that he was already planning during pre-season to be without Sigurdsson. I'd hope that their results would start to get better from there, but I think it's too early to say at the moment how they'd turn it around. They've still got Llorente to come back from injury. I think he's got a broken arm at the moment, but I'm sure he's due back any day soon. And I think once they get him back in and balls coming into him, I believe they're linked to Sam Klukas at the moment from Hull. I think they just need to bring in a couple more players like that to really bolster that squad to help them stay up.
Just on Klukas, I've seen a lot of him. They're paying a lot for him, 15 million.
Is that how much it is? Wow.
Yeah. And Stephen Kingsley's going either way as part of the deal, but as an addition to the 15 million. So I've seen a load of him at Hull now. He's really decent on the ball, going backwards and sideways. He rarely makes a forward pass. And I think Hull have done tremendous to get 15 million from him. Considering they signed him 2 seasons ago for $1 million, I think they couldn't snap Swansea's hands off quick enough, to be honest, at that. So there will be fine Swansea to spend the Sigurdsson money well, but they've already spent a third of it on Sam Lucas. So I don't, if they do that again, spending the next 30 million on probably not as good signs as Lucas or thereabouts, I don't think that'll make a massive difference to them.
No, they have the look of a club that I know Clement's very highly regarded as a coach, but it has that all too familiar feel of just sleepwalking a bit. Do you know what I mean? Just the squad looks all right, but a couple of key injuries. I think Tammy Abraham will be a good addition there. I really like what I saw of him in the Championship. I know Ross did as well. I think you did as well, Josh. But they just to me look a bit light, and it's not just Sigurdsson light. It's spine light. There's a few players that I'm just not sure. Are going to make the grade, but we shall see. I'm just looking at Gylfi Sigurdsson now on the telly. How bizarre is that? Timing is perfect. Thank you, Everton, for that. We shall move on though from those two sides. We'll stay at the top. Josh, I want to just stick with you for a minute. Kind of a brief one to discuss here, but Liverpool got there in the end over Crystal Palace. Sadio Mane, so often their saviour last season before he got injured. He's at it again. He got the winner. Liverpool distracted by the Coutinho stuff. We'll touch on it with Joel a bit later on from a Barca perspective, but is that what is kind of hanging over them? Because they look a little bit stuttery. They were stuttery at Watford. They were stuttery in this game. They got there in the end, but obviously they face Arsenal next, so that's going to be quite a big test to both sides. But is that Coutinho factor hanging over them a bit, do you think?
I think a little bit, certainly, was causing them problems. The other thing that I would mention is the fact that they'd also just played Hoffenheim midweek, one of the only teams to have had a midweek fixture. They've also got to go. They host them this week, don't they? On Wednesday, off the top of my head.
Yes, I think you're right.
Again, in the return fixture. So I think that's at the moment with the very small squad that Klopp operates with at the moment. That's certainly not helping them. The fact that Salah started on the bench was a big thing from that, I think, to kind of hope that Klopp would have had this game sorted and wrapped up by then to not necessarily have to bring him on. But I think overall we'll have to see once they get that Champions League qualifier out of the way how they move on from there. I think Crystal Palace is still a team in transition as well. We saw last week them getting absolutely smashed by Huddersfield. I think this week they were a bit more conservative, but also going with a couple more long balls up to Benteke and up to Scott Dan in the end, I believe, who was playing as a striker right near there just to try and grab another goal. But I think Liverpool got through this. Certainly a lucky result, but that's what you need when you're not playing well necessarily, is to grind out that result.
Yeah, the is all key. I don't think that Hoffenheim tie is over, by the way. Hoffenheim are very, very organised, very decent. I think Liverpool arguably could have won by more on the night in Hoffenheim. Equally, Hoffenheim could have scored a few themselves. It's one of those games that I couldn't work out who was favourites. But if we get time later on, we might just touch on those Champions League fixtures from the clubs that we follow's perspectives anyway. But we'll see how time treats us. But nevertheless, a win for Liverpool. Something that could not be said of Arsenal, though, Joel. I'm going to step aside from this one because I'll probably be very biased. But would it be fair to say that Jose Rodriguez, who you can probably speak about a little, had a really terrible time at PSG? It was a move that, to be honest, I never thought would really work out. It never seemed to suit him or fit. He had a bit of a sort of rebirth at the Bet365 Stadium, netting the winner, then looking absolutely knackered when he came off. But the winning goal, Arsenal, long periods of possession, a very strange defence. It included two left backs once again, despite the fact there was enough bodies to play a back four, should he have wanted to, Arsene Wenger that is. And the goal which was talked about for not being a goal from Alex Lacazette, which by the letter of the law probably was offside, but I thought this rule was to give the advantage to the attackers. So a blip for Arsenal, or does it just rip open that plaster of the all too familiar wounds, do you think?
Yeah, I think we've seen it all before. I think it's not what you want to hear from an Arsenal perspective in the slightest, is it? But it just felt all too familiar. Decent possession, really tidy, nice to look at, but no kind of cutting edge. And then when the going got tough and it went 1-0 down, it kind of puffed and puffed. And I think the Lacazette I kind of see where you're coming from with the advantage to the attacker. I think in the cold light of day, if he was to bring in technology, that's offside. I think the linesman guessed, but he did get it right. But it was a great finish by Lacazette. What I couldn't understand is why he brought Lacazette off when he brought Giroud on. I get you need to get Giroud on, but surely play the both of them because you've paid 52 million quid for a striker, and when you're chasing a game at 1-0 down, you bring him off. I don't know what that says as a bigger message or what that says to Lacazette either. You can't think he'd be too happy with that because you want your kind of goal scorers, and especially the type of striker he is to feed off Giroud, you'd want him on the pitch. I thought Ozil got slightly harsh criticism by Keown after the game, and he kind of got blamed for the goal, although it was Xhaka who kind of gave the ball away, and then just this kind of went out of position in the middle of the pitch, and then it allowed them to run through, and then obviously Hesse scored the winner. I'm pleased for him because I think he took a bit of a gamble going to Stoke because, yeah, like you say, PSG was a disaster. Las Palmas, that was meant to kind of rejuvenate and didn't work. I think it almost last chance saloon a little bit for him to come to England and make a go of it, and it looks like he's setting off with the right kind of on the right foot. For Arsenal, you just worry, is this a sign of things to come this season? I still think they need investment. I certainly thought when Wenger stayed that this would be the summer when they'd go out and maybe spend 150, 200 million like everybody else is, even Everton have a really good go at it. But there's been, 2 signings? One of them is a free transfer. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really see what's different from any other previous summer. They've kind of had this pattern where you've signed Sanchez and Ozil and spent decent money, and I think Xhaka was quite a bit of money. So I just thought they'd have a bit more of a go at it. And whether he's got signs lined up, Thomas Lemar, you hear linked every day, and I don't know. It just feels all too familiar for me. And as an Arsenal fan, that would frustrate me as well.
Yes. I'm sure Josh and I are both absolutely ecstatic at the idea of the Wenger out brigade rearing their ugly heads, and of course all the placards and all of that. So I'm sure that'll be out in force soon enough, so I can hardly wait. But yes, not my cup of tea personally. I do agree with you on the signings. I do expect Arsenal to be busy in this window. I think it's going to be late, and that does worry me a little bit that we could end up with it on the trolley dash. But yeah, reason for optimism in what I can gather, and the news that a few players have left the club today, which we'll touch on in the Championship roundup, can only add to the idea that it could be a few coming in. So here's hoping. Full credit to Stoke though, Mark Hughes relieving some of the pressure that was on his shoulders with this win. I think it'll be all about how Stoke move on from here. So well done to them. Right, let's move down the table a little bit. We should say that we're recording this during Manchester City Everton. No score at the current time. Any updates we'll let you know. So that's the big clubs quote unquote done for now. Josh, I want to come on to some of the less fashionable clubs, and we'll put the focus on your boys first of all. Brighton losing 2-0 at Leicester City. Is it fair to say? I mean, I know you always said from day one you thought it would be a tough baptism of fire for Brighton, and they would find it tough. Do you think they're finding it tougher than we expected? Is it just that they played two teams? I mean, obviously Man City, I don't think anyone expected them to get too much from that. And then Leicester away is not an easy fixture. So what's your thoughts on Brighton? Couple of signings short still, even despite the 2 that we can't pronounce coming in today? Or is there enough there for them to get on a run when they play clubs that are more winnable, shall we say, winnable games?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first 2 games, when you look at it in the last 4 seasons, I think off the top of my head, these 2 teams that they've played have been champions of England. So it was definitely not an easy task to have these 2 teams to come up against. You look at the fixtures that Newcastle and Huddersfield had, respectively, and think, oh, well, that's probably an easier run for them to get bedded back into the division. But I think Brighton, with the fixtures they've got coming up, I think they've got, with the new players coming in, still got Pascal Gross, who looks to be the liveliest of the new signings.
Good
with
player.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a fantastic season last year in the Bundesliga. We also managed to get the left back from Ingolstadt, Suttner, who also looks to have a really good link up with him. Just getting Anthony Knockaert back from injury, plus another winger coming in as well to really bolster that area. I think the only thing that is missing is a striker that can really score goals. Seeing Glenn Murray start up front, I did say that would be a problem last season, that the guy, as great as he was in the Championship, had to come down a level to start scoring. So having him as your main striker to start with in the Premier League, it wasn't always going to produce goals, but I expect Brighton to settle in. Bruno, the captain's already come out and said, look, this was always going to be difficult, but at least now we know we need to dig in. We know what we need to do. It'd be a lot harder to deal with if we went on 2 decent results and then started finding problems. At least now the problems are found early, still in the transfer market, and Chris Hughton can try and bring in the right personnel to get the goals and ultimately try and keep Brighton up.
Yeah, another... Sorry, go on, Joe.
Just the only thing, I mean, I had experience of it with all the last seasons in FPL. When you kind of look for the fixtures, and I've tried to never do it, is kind of pinpoint games where you think you can win. And then when you don't win that game, so say you come up against, I don't know, Huddersfield, or you play Bournemouth, and you don't win, it then creates even more pressure. So I think it can easily get drawn into that trap in the Premier League of thinking what's a winnable game and what isn't. And sometimes when you do get a point, you know, at home to Man City or away at Leicester, it's invaluable because it just relieves a little bit of the pressure, because you end up then with what Hull had in the second part of the season, where every game becomes must win. And you then kind of, when you don't win, you are really kind of feeling the pressure. But I know how difficult it is. It's difficult to even get a point when you just come up. So for them to have that start is incredibly tough. But it's just very difficult when you don't win the teams around you as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And another club I fancy to be busy towards the end of the window. I think Brighton have obviously got their eye on a few players, and we are going to see deals done late on, of course, and especially if the results are not going well. I think clubs, there's a natural instinct to not panic, but a natural instinct to go, okay, maybe the squad we thought was good enough maybe isn't, and let's try and get a few in. And I do fancy a few more players will come in, but home form is going to be vital at the Amex for Brighton. I think, as I know it's a cliche, but Burnley proved last season, for example, just how important home form can be if you can get results with your supporters behind you. And that's something that could also be said of our next club I want to pick on with you, Joe, and that's the Bournemouth-Watford game. We'll leave Bournemouth aside just for a minute. I'll give them to Josh, but I want to give some praise to Watford, and special mention to a good friend, Dave, who I know personally, who might be listening to this section of the podcast, because he messaged me the day and said, you don't ever talk about Watford, do you? Well, I want to give some love to Watford this week. And Joel, I know you're very keen on their manager, Marco Silva, from the things he did at Hull last season. He's at it again, isn't he, with Watford? A really good, impressive draw with Liverpool, which they could easily have won on the opening day. And I thought they were really good in the 2-0 victory over Bournemouth. Richarlison looks a good signing. Etienne Capoue back on the score sheet once again. He's got something working there, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think they were really impressive at the week. And I think what he does and what he's done, what I've seen he did at Hull really quickly, and what he's done at Watford within 2 games, is he gets pace into the team. And when he came into Hull, he sold Livermore and Snodgrass within 3 or 4 days of being there, and everyone kind of questioned it. But it was to be able to then go sign Grzycki and Markovic, and they asked to get pace into the team. And quite quickly at Watford, I know he's had a summer to do it, but you looked at them and they looked so fast on the counter-attack. They looked so fast up front. Andre Gray's fast, Richarlison's fast. They look like they've just got pace through the team. They've also put some power in the middle with Chalobah. And he did exactly the same with Alfred Ndiaye at Hull. So what he's done is, it's obviously his blueprint here, that he likes that style of play. And looking at him at the weekend, it's depressing from a Hull perspective. I think, well, that could have been us if we'd just won a couple more games in that back end running to the end of the season. But yeah, they look really good, Watford, and I'm pleased for him, because I want him to do well, because I saw a ridiculous comment from Redknapp saying that Silva took Hull down. Well, he didn't really. He did everything he could to try and keep us up, and it very nearly happened. So I want him to do well at Watford. I think it's the right club at the right time for him as well, because he seems to have the freedom to bring in the players that he needs. They've been a club that I've always thought of a little bit lacking identity and we've spoken this before, that the churn of players is so big, and maybe he will kind of build more of a team over the next 2 or 3 seasons. But the signs are really good for them. I think Andre Gray is a good sign as well, and he will definitely start scoring goals. I know he missed a good chance at the weekend, but give him enough chances, and I think he'll get it in that Watford team with the pace they've got. I think they're on for a good season, Watford, and I think they can definitely look at the top 10. And it was a good start against Liverpool as well. So they've scored, 5 in 2 games? No, they conceded 3, but it was a good result on Saturday. What you thought would be a difficult, I had that down as a draw, to be honest. So it did surprise me in that sense as well.
Yeah, and players to come back as well. You look at sort of Mauro Zarate when he gets fully fit. Roberto Pereira, who I'm really impressed with at Juventus before he got, I think he got injured, didn't he, last season? I think it was a cruciate that kept him out of the squad for the rest of the season. Yeah, I know he got injured on the opening day against Liverpool. I don't know what the diagnosis of that injury was, but hopefully that doesn't keep him out for long term, because he's a very good little player.
The interesting one there will be Deeney.
Yes.
I don't see Deeney as a Marco Silva type of player. He likes forwards with movement, and I think Deeney's great at what he does, which is crossing the box and holding the ball. But I don't think his movement and his mobility is what Silva will look for. But that's a difficult one because he's kind of a club icon, club legend. But I don't think Silva's stuck moving him on or not playing him, to be honest. I know he's injured at the minute. He's just back on the bench at the weekend. But I don't think Silva's would duck that decision at all.
No, it's always tough when you sort of get rid of a club legend, but I think even all diehard Watford fans will admit sometimes you have to move on, or at least put somebody in the background. Just before I move on to Josh to talk Bournemouth as well, just one other player I want to pick up on, Joel, Kiko Firmino. What do you know about this lad? Is he likely to be one you're keeping tabs on as a La Liga man?
Yeah, I think he was part of the Alaves team that did really well last year and got to the Copa del Rey. Final. Unfortunately, Alaves have lost coach and they've lost practically all of the best players, and he was one of them. So he's a really good player. He can play in the midfield and can play either full-back position. So it's an astute signing by them. I think in today's market, I think they got him for about 3 or 4 million euros, which looks an absolute steal, to be honest. So expect good things from him.
Good stuff. There's one to keep an eye on then, Watford fans. Just quickly on Bournemouth, what's going wrong there? I mean, again, I know it's 2 games in. We're not going to write obituaries yet, but Eddie Howe, they haven't been hugely active in the window over the course of the summer. Eddie Howe seems to be sort of wrestling with what system he wants to employ, which sort of tactics to employ. He's got Jermaine Defoe, who I think is going to be heavily relied on for goals, but at 34, that's risky. Fitness alone, it's risky. And as I say, there's not a huge amount of change to that squad other than the goalkeeper, Asmir Begovic, I think is a very good, very astute signing, as is Nathan Ake. But those 3 players alone to that Bournemouth squad, which is already, I'm looking at it now, it's quite a light, small squad. Do you think there's a bit of pressure on Eddie Howe now and Bournemouth, given the first 2 games of the season, how they performed?
Yeah, I think there might be. Looking, as you say, they strengthened the majority of the spine of their team, bringing in Begovic, Ake and Defoe. From what I've seen of them early season, it looks like they're trying to put Defoe, or get the team ready for Defoe without him necessarily being there. I think early on there might be a bit of an argument between Eddie Howe and Defoe, from what we've heard in the media, with different reports, with Howe saying, oh well, Defoe's not ready yet, he's not fit enough for me, but Defoe coming back with the fact that, well, I didn't have a big pre-season with Sunderland and they threw me straight in and I started scoring. So I think that could be make or break for Bournemouth season, how Eddie Howe manages Jermaine Defoe, because to be honest, when we saw that signing coming in, or at least I did, that he would just start first name on the team sheet, along with Begovic, would be him and him and Defoe up there to get them some goals. I think there's still a need for them to upgrade in their central midfield. I think I said that last week as well. Jack Wilshere wasn't necessarily the player for him, or player for them. is very different to the type of midfielder that I think Howe wants to use. But I think there does need to be an upgrade on Andy Sermon. Did see Harry Arter's still got it in this game. He did have a very cheeky moment with Nathaniel Chabalard early on with just a ball coming up to Chabalard to look to pick it up. Gets a call of leave it, assuming it was one of his teammates, only for Harry Arter to then give him a little cheeky grin, pick up the ball and run off the other way. Not sure if that's within the letter of the law. I'm sure I was always told that I had to put a name on it ball, otherwise it was a free kick. But you know, you always like someone to be a little bit of a cheeky chappy in that midfield, and Harry Arter was certainly that. So all credit to him.
Yeah, two incidents of that. There was another one in the Leicester-Brighton game. I don't know if you saw Riyad Mahrez do the old "I'm going to smash it in your face" trick and then pull his leg away. Can't remember who it was against, but it's over on the far touch line, so that's one to look up for as well. But yeah, we like a bit of cheek on this podcast, the right kind of cheek, of course. But yes, Bournemouth in transition, maybe a little bit. I'm sure our listeners will know this by the time they listen to this podcast, but Wayne Rooney has just put Everton one up at the end. So I'm sure that will please Pep Guardiola and co no end, as indeed half the stadium. I'm sure they'll be delighted at that scorer. So good performance for Everton so far. Just gloss over very briefly, Burnley couldn't win away all last season. They won on the opening day at Chelsea, and now they decided they don't want to win at home. They lost 1-0 at home to West Brom. Don't worry, Burnley and West Brom fans, throughout the course of the season, you will get your focus, I promise, just not this week. Hal Robson-Kanu with the winner there. Also, Newcastle and Huddersfield fans, do not despair. We will focus on you in future weeks, but again, not this week. 1-0 victory for Wagner's men on Sunday. I think Rafa Benitez continues to crank up the pressure on his chairman about signings. Things are not well up in Geordieland at all. Aaron Moy with the winner there, one of Ross's favourites. Very good goal as well, has to be said. We will give just a little bit of love to Southampton because they finally scored a goal. Not just one, not just two, but three of the buggers. I'm sure Ross was absolutely delighted with their 3-2 victory over West Ham on the Sunday, wasn't it? No, sorry, it was the Saturday afternoon. Just very briefly on this one, Joel, just to make Ross happy. So 3-2 victory. Manolo Gabbiadini, Dusan Tadic and Charlie Austin with a last-minute penalty. 2 goals for Chicharito Hernandez and a red card for Marko Arnautovic. God, he just never learns that lad, does he? Southampton, have a word on them, and just a quick word on West Ham, because they look like a side in real trouble to me.
Yeah, I think Southampton needed that. They needed to kind of get a win, the new coach, to get kind of the season started. Kind of blew up, didn't they? 2-0 up and then went 2-2. And then obviously Austin got the late penalty. I think Southampton will be fine. I think Lemina's a really good signing. Tracked by a lot of top clubs in Europe. I don't mind how Southampton managed to get that one over the line. But that's a really, really good signing for them. Obviously saw a lot of the coach, Alaves, and he's really, really good technical coach. He might not play the most attractive football, but I think he'll be effective. So I think Southampton will be absolutely fine. But it's difficult for Southampton to improve on 8th, isn't it? Isn't that what goes under Puel? So I don't know. Maybe they can hope for more attractive football than Puel and the same again, I guess, or maybe even push into the top 7. But for West Ham, yeah, it's kind of worrying. I think obviously Bilic should be quite pleased with the character of the show to get back to 2-2, but then to give away a penalty so late, and Arnautovic is a new signing they've paid a lot of money for. We know he's got a short fuse. For him to do that was just reckless and kind of killed him. I think it's not so much that game, it kills him for the next 3 games that he's out as well. When they've hung the hat on him really, and they've told Snodgrass that he's not wanted, and he goes and does that. So I think West Ham, yeah, they are in a bit of trouble. And I think you could definitely see Bilic to be the first coach to go. I think that'd be my prediction.
I think that's a prediction that many share, to be honest, which would be a shame because I don't think he's been given exactly the right amount of backing he should have been. Equally, that said, some of the signings he's made have been a little bit questionable. With
the signings, I just think how many have worked.
Yeah.
I think probably Hernandez will be the one that does. I think looking at all of the signs that they've made for the last 2 seasons have just been really poor. None of them have worked, I don't think. Go to Byram, Font, Snodgrass, Ayew, Caleri. None of them have worked. which is disappointing. And then obviously, if he's recommending these players, which you don't know who's buying the players, he's going to lose the faith of the board as well, because they aren't going to keep giving him money when they don't keep working. It's not going to happen.
No, you can't just keep throwing money at it, can you? That's the thing. It's not a bottomless pit. But nevertheless, we shall see where West Ham end up. I'm not having that V on their shirt either this season. I'm not. It just doesn't look right to me. But that's just me. Like, anywho, let's leave the Premier League there then for this week. Oh, actually, just quickly before we do, Josh, you've got a quick story on the Mark Noble, Charlie Austin penalty incident.
Yeah, they had the usual antics you get from players trying to get in the heads of the man trying to take the penalty. Well, Mark Noble went up and gave Charlie Austin a little whisper just to say, Joe Hart knows you're going to his right. So Charlie Austin went, all right, went to take the penalty, put it to Joe Hart's left as he duly dived to his right and said, thank you very much, mate. Because I don't think that was the way that Mr. Mark Noble was hoping it would go for his team.
No, it can look rather foolish when you telegraph stuff that actually does happen. Yeah, no, never good. But yeah, well done, Ross. Hopefully if Ross is listening to this, I mean, if you're not Ross, why not? How very dare you? I'm sure he is. So well done to Saints getting off the mark. Now all they've got to do is keep Virgil van Dijk and everything's happy. I know he's very consistent. He still thinks he will stay. I do like the signing of Hoyt from Lazio. I don't know if you saw that. That's likely to go through. Is it Wesley Hoyt? I think it's Wesley Hoyt. The Lazio centre back is arriving at Saints shortly. So I know a lot of people will say, right, that's the replacement for Van Dijk. I'm sure Ross will be hoping it's very much not. I'm sure he'd be quite happy to see the back of Yoshida, bless him. Anyway, well done to Ross's boys. Let's move on then from Premier League football to the Championship. Unless, of course, I'll give you guys the choice. Would you like us to answer some questions on the Premier League now, or should we save them all for the end? What would you like to do?
Let's do a couple of questions now.
Do a couple now? All right, then, let's do that. Who have I got here? I've got one coming in from Filipe Jancic. Filip Jancic, I think that is. That's a new name. Welcome, Philip, if that is indeed you. Oh, look, we've got a red card at Manchester. What's going on? Kyle Walker. Couldn't happen to a nicer fella. Did I say that out loud? Anyway, he's off. Anyway, back to the question at hand. Joel, you can have this one. He's actually asked it to me, so I'll give my views afterwards. But he says, Kris, is Lukaku the real deal, quote unquote, or is he just having easy games right now? Will he struggle against the bigger sides? You know my thoughts, Joel. He's a very good centre forward. I'm not denying that. He is clearly a very good centre forward, but I'm unconvinced about his ability to make the step up in big games. And I do feel there's an element of flat track bully about him. What do you think? Is this the making of him at Manchester United now?
I think I'll come in for Joel, as he's just disappeared for a few moments. No so, Lukaku, the flat track bully. I think it is a bit of both. We need to see how he'll do in a better kind of team infrastructure for how he'll do against the bigger teams. But I do think he has shown that he's got enough to do it. I think we'll also see with them in the Champions League if he's got enough to get the goals there. I think that's where Zlatan comes in really as a big player to help them get those goals in the big games, because I think there are less of those that they'll have in the season than the teams against that kind of lower half of the division that Lukaku does very, very well against. I think that's probably the biggest place that we'll see the success from him, but hopefully he can get the goals, because you do want to see a player do well when they move clubs, especially for that amount of money. But I think the Champions League will be the big thing for him, and if he can get scoring there.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, as I say, my opinion is not rare. I mean, I'm right. In fact, I'm wrong on lots of things, but it's just my view that I'm just not convinced. And for the amount of money as well that they've paid for, I know players don't pay for their own transfer fees. I get that totally, but I'm just not convinced a player of that level is worth that much money, but we shall see. So good question there, Philip. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. And that's proof, boys and girls, that we do record live. So we'll get Joel back as soon as we can. Let me just see if there's another quick question we can answer while we do that. Oh, actually, I don't know if we have any more Premier League questions, so maybe we've got away with that one. We'll have this quick one actually. This is always a good one. Max Grichika, he's got another question later on, but he wants to know your favourite 3 kits. So Josh, have you got 3 favourite kits
from this season?
Yeah, Premier League specific. This is.
You know who I really like? Newcastle's away kit that we saw.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So if anyone hasn't seen it, it's the traditional black stripe, but then there's a matte black stripe where the white one would be. God, that's a good looking kit. And then you've got gold accents on it as well.
Yeah, gold always works. It's like Leeds. Have you seen their gold with the white and the black with the silver? I quite like.
Yes, yeah. It's very much a lot like Man City's. I want to say third kit last year, which was just all that kind of matte black with gold accents on it. I do really like that one. Who else? I don't like any of the Arsenal kits. Can I say that? I think they're all dreadful. Other than the home kit, there's only so much you can do with red and white, though.
Yeah, I like the third kit, the pink. I like the home kit. The collar's awful, and it should have red socks. Just saying. But yeah, what about Man City's away kit? That's a bit tasty, isn't it? You saw that at Brighton.
No, I think they played in their home. Oh, of course, yes, as they did. For a second, I thought they played in their home kit.
That's a beaut, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good one. Brighton's home kit I do like this season as well. It does follow that normal Nike template that you can see at other clubs, but I think
sleeves,
exactly. But I think that's a very, very nice kit. I think it's Everton's third kit.
Oh yes,
off the top of my head.
Purple. Yeah.
Yes.
Purple stripes. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's another one that I do quite like. And then there is weirdly, I don't like the Arsenal version of it, but I like the Huddersfield away kit. Riddle me that.
The pink and black.
Riddle me that.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same as the Arsenal third kit, made by the same sponsor, but I just like the Huddersfield one, and I don't like the Arsenal one. I don't know what that says, but
fair point.
It's a very odd one.
I like the Puma black, all the black third strips. Bordeaux have got an absolutely beautiful black kit this season. If you haven't seen that, do look it up. It is wonderful. This whole, was it Nightshade that Puma called it or something? Or
yes.
Out of the Shadows or something random. Yeah, all these black kits are really nice. I do like the Leicester black and gold kit. It's very nice as well. But there you go, Max. There's a few of our favourites. So enjoy them. Enjoy them as you will. Right, okay, that's enough Premier League questions then. Let's shift gears to the Championship and the EFL. This is a good timing, isn't it? Seeing as Joel is dead at the moment, hopefully we'll get him back shortly. But while he's away, let's launch into some EFL stuff then, Josh. So what stories have you got for us to start in the Championship and work our way down?
Yeah, so I am taking over the Ross bit for today, so let's see how I can do. EFL, we'll start with the Championship, and Villa and Steve Bruce have appeared to have dampened the early speculation of him having to take an early bath this season with a 4-2 win against Norwich. No, Kris, I'm not going to do any jokes about Fark this week.
Thanks,
I can't do it. I will ask anybody though to go and see what his new chant is that the Norwich fans have done, because it's incredible, and I will reference it later in the season when I'm allowed and feeling cheeky. But on that result, we saw Conor Hourihane get one of Ross's star men of last season get a hat-trick in that game. So from midfield, it's absolutely incredible. On to Ipswich. And they're continuing their fantastic start of the season with a 2-0 win against Brentford, who do look to be missing Jota from their forward line at the moment. Making a lot of chances but not really finishing them off. And then on to Cardiff, who are also maintaining their 100% record against, personally, my favourite for going up, Wolves, with a 2-1 away win. I think that's a huge result from this weekend in the Championship. Another blow for pre-season favourites, Reading, losing away to Preston. It's troubling times for Jaap Stam. Hopefully the club will and the fan base will still support or keep supporting him, because I think he did a great job with them last year. Unfortunately missing out in the playoffs from going up. Before we go over to League One, we'll just go into a couple of signings that I spotted from today, mainly at Birmingham, who have brought in 3 players. Carl Jenkinson and Cohen Bramall from Arsenal, basically to replace their fullbacks, and Sam Gallagher from Southampton as an additional striker. But over in League One, a couple of key results from there. Blackburn Rovers have taken a little bit of the negative limelight off them from moving out of that kind of relegation zone with a 1-0 win against Bradford. Biggest story though, outside of the field of play, came from the Pompey Walsall game. Not sure if you guys heard from this as well. Basically a story of an unsuspecting fan, didn't really check his map when he was looking to book his hotel, then realising on the day of the game to go to check in that there was a small obstacle in the way, also known as the Solent, to get to. Had booked his hotel on the Isle of Wight. So remember, kids, check your map before you book your hotel. Worrying times down at Gillingham as well, where they're the only team not to have scored a goal this season. 3 games in, going to lose 1-0 to MK Dons. Quickly over to League Two. Big story from the weekend. Saw some history being made with Forest Green Rovers getting their first win in the Football League. They didn't do it the easy way though, coming from 3-1 down to win 4-3 at the New Lawn against Yeovil. Yeovil fans have now seen a staggering 22 goals in 3 games so far this season. I don't think that's sustainable for the rest of it. So they may have to see a couple of 0-0 draws to come along to even that stuff out. But more early pressure on Harry Kewell at the Checkatrade Stadium. Crawley going down and suffering a 3rd straight defeat against Cambridge. I think interesting in League Two, just in general, is there's no team with 100% record. Swindon and Exeter currently sitting at the top after 3 games played on 7 points each. Another very tight League Two season looks to be upon us. Back to you, Kris.
Lovely job. Thank you very much. An excellent Ross impression, I might add. Thank you very much for that. We will, of course, bring Joel back in because he's alive. He's back. The internet gremlins will not be killing us off tonight. Hull City, then. Let's talk some Hull City, shall we, Joel? Have you been this season? Are you going to be going? And what's going on down there?
Yeah, so I went against Burton 4-1 at home, which was decent performance actually, and I'm going on Friday against Bolton at home. What's going on? It's not as bad as last summer because they're actually making some signings, but after the game on Saturday, the coach Slutsky was really despondent, and there was talk, and he kind of hinted at the fact that he'd considered resigning. I just don't think he's getting the support he needs in terms of signings. Obviously they've let a number of players go for a lot of money. Obviously, Kluge is the latest today. Robertson, Maguire, Huddleston, Davis. There's talk of them making signs before the end of the window. I'm trying not to get too involved with who's coming in and out until the window closes. I think that's the time to judge it because predominantly Hull are a late club into the kind of market every single window. Last 4 or 5 have been like that, so I think they'll do it again. It's just getting through this period now. I think Saturday was disappointing because obviously they were 1-0 up. Lucas refused to play apparently before the game, which didn't help. And then Stuart, new sign from Liverpool, got injured after 20 minutes. Fraser Campbell got injured in the first half, got to come off at half time. So the threadbare as it is, and the injuries that they're sustaining at the minute are not helping whatsoever. I think it's going to be right to judge Hull kind of mid-September when they've got the new signs, if they do arrive, bedded in. I saw the link with Ojoa today from Leicester, which would be a decent sign. They put 10 million in for Zohore from Cardiff. So it looks like they're going to have a go. I just hope they can pick up enough points in August to sustain it, because they could be too far behind. That sounds ridiculous, but if they've only got 4 points come kind of the end of August, it's a bit of a mountain to climb to get towards the back. I did actually think that the owner would give a good go and try and get the club back into the Premier League. We'll see how the ambition he's got in the next 2 weeks, really, or 10 days now. I think that'll be it. I do feel for the coach, and there's a lot of talk that he's being sold down the river. I'm not so sure on that, but at the end of the day, he's working with 14 pros, which is not what you'd expect at the Championship level, to be honest.
Do you think Slutsky's going to work out? Do you think he can turn it around? Is it a bit too much? I mean, he comes across as a lovely bloke, doesn't he? But is it enough?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's just so much uncertainty. I know Hernandez obviously injured for 6 months now. You thought, well, there's 20 goals in the Championship, and obviously I was there when he got the hat-trick against Burton. I feel for Slutsky because he can't really plan anything. It must be difficult to plan how he's going to play when he's got Grzycki on the wing, who's a world beater in that league, but is he going to keep him? So do you plan on building a system around Grzycki? When is he going to be there? So I think we're going to have to just see how Slutsky goes in September. He does seem a really nice guy, and I kind of was really pleased for him when they got the draw at Villa. But he did seem really despondent on Saturday, and I think the negative for him was that he's a little bit too honest, and the local media were absolutely giving him a grilling, and he was answering every question they're asking, where I think a more experienced manager in England would have just stopped answering questions after about the second or third one, because they were leading questions, and they were getting him to almost criticise the owner, which is what they want, because it's a really long story, but the owner has banned all local media from the games. So they've got an agenda. They can only go to away games, and obviously they're going to try and stick the knife in every opportunity. So he's got all that to deal with. He's also got the fan unrest to deal with. He's also got his players being sold in front of him and not really being replaced as it stands at the minute. So I don't anticipate he thought it would be this difficult, but he's still here. And I think he'll give it the end of August as well and see where he's at.
Agreed. Yeah. Interesting times for Hull, and there's so many big sides in not just the Championship, but Leagues 1 and 2, as Ross and Josh have highlighted many times before. And we will, of course, be keeping tabs on the business that gets done between now and the end of the window. I, for one, can't see Kamil Grzycki staying there long term. And of course, we saw Chris Wood completely screw up my Telegraph fantasy football team by leaving Leeds to join Burnley today. So cheers for that, Chris. Much appreciated, you pillock. Anyway, we will mention fantasy football a little bit later on in the show, as I frantically nudged Josh to find what on earth the PIN number was to join our fantasy football league. But we will touch on that a little bit later on in the show as well. Right, here's the part where all things change and we go all continental. Check us out. It's time to have a little chat about the European action that we have just seen this past weekend. All of our leagues are back. Serie A, Bundesliga and La Liga joined Liga in returning this weekend. We're going to start in Spain because we've got Joel. So the plan is moving forward to kind of put the focus on 2 of the 4 leagues heavily, whilst touching on the other 2 that we don't focus on quite as heavily, to give you some results and any standout stories. So this week, Spain and France are very much in the spotlight. So Joel, La Liga this weekend. Going to start with a question because it fits in quite nicely into Barcelona's segue. It comes from Noma, one of our regular listeners. She wants to ask, are Barcelona in trouble? A few players have come out and said they're not happy with the board. Messi has not renewed his contract. I think he's got, 4 months before he can talk to other people. No transfers over the line. That part's slightly wrong in that they have got Paulinho, and it looks like Jean-Michel Seri is going to break my heart and join Barca in the coming 48 hours. But, are they in trouble? They got a 2-0 victory over Real Betis in the opening game of the season. Frankly, they could have won 7 or 8, I think, couldn't they, watching that game back? But where do you sit on your club of your heart at the moment?
They are in a little bit of trouble in the sense that they've lost one of the best players, the best players in the world, and they've not actually gone and replaced him at the minute. And it's interesting that Neymar was such a big thing for the style of play. He allowed Messi to have room. It was so noticeable in the 2 Clasico games when they played Deulofeu wide and Andre Gomez wide that Carvajal didn't bother marking that player and just marked Messi. And that's going to happen, so that then restricts him. So they need to replace Neymar, whether that's a direct replacement, i.e. Dembele, or they look at reworking the system that they sign other players, and that allows kind of Messi to have more of a free role again. I think it's too early to say they're in trouble. There's some really worrying signs. I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I don't think the players are too impressed with the board, as you alluded to there. I think real fingers need to be pointed at the sporting director, Robert Fernandez. I'm struggling to think of a sign that's actually worked in the last 3 or 4 years. I think you look at Samuel Umtiti, that one has. But you look at the likes of Alex Vidal, Arda Turan, Paco Alcácer, Jeremy Mathieu, Thomas Vermaelen. You can go on and name a team of practically players who have just not done it. And that's where Madrid have left Barcelona behind in terms of their recruitment. When you look at the recruitment they've made recently, you know, the likes of Asensio, you go back a couple of years, with Toni Kroos, Theo Hernandez this summer, they've made really good signs that Barcelona haven't. So that over a prolonged period means that they're slightly behind. They can make it up quite quickly. I think the Paulinho signing is quite astute, and I can't the only person kind of thinks. I think he'll bring power, and that's what they lack. I think you maybe go with a double pivot with him and Busquets, and that may give them a different dimension. Worryingly, I think Iniesta is on a decline, which is really worrying. And there's talk of him leaving in the season. I actually can see that happening because it doesn't appear to be contract talks happening. I've heard that Messi will sign his contract, although it is getting ridiculously close to the wire in terms of, like you say, he can talk to clubs from the 1st of January. I do honestly think if they don't replace Neymar with some quality, he will look around and think, this is not for me. Because he did look really despondent in the 2 Madrid games. Obviously, he's getting drubbed by Madrid. He's going to look despondent, but he just looked like he couldn't do it all on his own. He was trying to be kind of Xavi, Iniesta himself, Neymar, and not really getting anywhere, which is not what they want for him. I think it's too easy to say they're in trouble. I think what is kind for them is that they've got 5 fixtures to start the season, which are relatively straightforward. I don't think they play anyone from the top 5 or 6 until mid-October. So they could have a decent run, allow the new signings to get bedded in. I think Dembele will come in, as you've said, Seri, who obviously we've spoken about, will come in. Nelson Semedo, the new right full-back, looks really good. Really impressed with him. He looks really raw, but I think there's a real player there. He's really quick. Over the weekend, he clocked the fastest sprinting time in La Liga, and I think that's something they've missed since Alves left. Sergio Roberto did a great job, but he didn't have that dynamism and pace on the right-hand side, and they've got that with Semedo. So there are some positives. I just think it's wait and see. I think they've made a mistake with the Neymar deal. They should have gone to him early and asked what he wanted to do and then negotiate with PSG, because they could have potentially, and I say potentially, got a Verratti including the deal, or a Di Maria or Draxler. But they needed to save face, and look, Neymar wanted to leave. But it's also meant that they've got 222 million euros better in the pocket, and everyone knows they've got it. Therefore, the prices for Dembele, Coutinho, everybody who haven't got a buyout clause is going to ridiculous amounts. So I think the president will struggle to survive this period, and I think he will go due to the support against him. And I think if the players, and you think the likes of Piqué and Messi are against him, then he's a dead man walking, to be honest. And I think the sporting director will go as well. It can quickly turn around. I feel for Valverde because I think he's been overshadowed this summer, and he's a really good coach. He just needs to get a team on the pitch that he wants, and it's kind of settled. I think the weekend helped winning, and they played well. To be fair, they did play well. So it's not all doom and gloom, and I think it can be quickly rectified. We might look at this period as being a kind of storm in a teacup, but the longer it goes and the longer a assignment comes to the door, I think people are getting more agitated because there's only 9 days left tomorrow.
Yeah. So time is definitely ticking, isn't it? I just want to actually quickly ask you on the ins and outs. If we assume Seri is likely, I think Dembele is very likely. Coutinho on the fence, not sure. What about the outs? How many do you think potentially going to be available from that Barca squad? Because they're in a similar situation to PSG now, in that they've got so many players that they need to get rid of that are either not good enough or that they could do with freeing up the wages to bring in the superstar players. Are we just looking at Arda Turan, for example? Because didn't Mathieu move on? Didn't he? So is it to Turkey?
Done Sporting Lisbon on a free.
Oh, Sporting Lisbon, that's right, yeah. So they've got rid of him, but how many more go?
Arda Turan, yeah, they're actively trying to move him out. Rafinha will probably go. Munir is linked with Roma most days. I just don't think they can agree a fee. Denis Suarez is linked with Napoli, or I do think he'll stay. Thomas Vermaelen, unbelievably, is still there. He's on about 70 or 80,000 euros a week.
He's having a lovely time.
Yeah, exactly. Living in Barcelona on that type of money. So they can't seem to move him on. I think the frustration from the fans is not only the ins, it's the outs as well, because they want to kind of get those players off the books. So being pointed at the finger at the board is that you can't bring in, you can't get players out. What is going on? And I think that is starting to come to more to the fruit. The longer this goes on, I mean, Ada Turan is on €140,000, and he only made the bench at the weekend because he had a couple of injuries. He would have been excluded altogether. So his value has suddenly gone from 35 million that they could have got from China, and I think they're talking about going back to Galatasaray with Barca subsidising his wages and a €5 million transfer fee. So there's just been mismanagement with players at all levels, and he just kind of summed up. They're going to make a €30 million loss on him, paid his wages for the last 2 years. It's not really done much, and they're going to have to subsidise his wage to Galatasaray as well. So it's not absolutely ideal, and that's not helping the board at all, because it just looks like this mismanagement is in every single level, and not to mention the Messi and fact that they've let his contract get to 4 months left. Yeah. So not help him. So hopefully those players will go to clear the wage, but then also because I think Valverde's just got too much of a big squad to deal with at the minute. I think 28.
Does seem like he's a little bit been hung out to dry so far, doesn't it? And you say that for Thomas Vermaelen, the modern day Vincent Bogarde to discuss. But interesting that. And there's a few players that you look at Barca. I'll be honest, I would still have Ada Turan at Arsenal. I know it's not a popular view, but I think he's a very talented player, but he just never suited Barcelona, if that makes any sense. And I still think he can do a job somewhere for a low, as you say, a low fee that Barca shift him.
It's just the fact that he's about 3 stone overweight right this now didn't help him anyway.
He did look big on his holidays, didn't he? Even I sort of looked twice and went, I think I'm in better shape than you are, mate. You know, it's just he did look a bit chunky, but I suppose you can afford to do that when you're on that sort of money. But such is life. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we have to talk about Real Madrid. We'll skip over the Super Copa maybe because it's old news now. Let's be honest. But they got a victory over Deportivo. They look ominously good, don't they? I don't think they ever got out of third gear. Comfortably dispatched Deportivo with the help of Deportivo's goalkeeper gifting them the opening goal to Gareth Bale. But that squad, we've talked about Asensio. Ronaldo's still doing what he does. Sergio Ramos, when he's not getting sent off, is still a very good defender. The whole squad, Casemiro, one of the best holding midfielders in world football right now. I just can't see how they're stopped. Can you this season?
No, and I think what is a great comparison is of them at the minute is to Barcelona. Everything Barcelona are not at the minute, Real Madrid are. So they've got great cohesion. They've got a system of play that's established. The signings have worked. The squad looks really good. The star player is suspended, but they don't seem to miss him, and they look even better without Ronaldo, if you can say that, over the games that I saw and at the weekend as well. They're going to be really hard to stop, and they've just got depth. I think that the options that they've got from the bench, it allows them to rotate. They are massively in the ascendancy at the minute. They've still got that in them to blow up. I think they've got that where they can definitely concede goals, but they've just got so much going forward that it's going to be hard to look past them this year for everything again, which is unbelievable for them to even think about retaining the Champions League again, which would be, no team did it twice. I think you'd put your money on them to do it 3 times at this moment in time right now. But it is a long season, and you think, well, they can't keep playing this well forever, because it seems to have been playing well for the last 6 months, really, since January onwards. So, really good at the weekend, really strong.
Yeah, they do look in pretty good nick, don't they? Pretty good nick. That said, as you say, Deportivo didn't help. Missing a penalty in the last minute as well was not good.
But again, though, they are giving teams chances. Madrid. They gave let United kind of back in. Barca had chances. Busquets yourself and go. You will get chances against them. It's just they will probably outscore you as well.
Agreed. Yeah, we shall see. We shall see Madrid. But probably the story of the weekend was Little Girona, which I think we have to affectionately name them. A 2-2 draw with Antoine Griezmann's Atletico Madrid. He himself seeing red, which is first time in his career, I think I'm right in saying. I didn't realise this, but you filled me in pre-pod. Manchester City owned Girona, which I didn't know. So were they good value for their point at Atletico?
Yeah, completely. They were 2-0 up to 75 minutes, and even 2-0 up when Griezmann got sent off as well. So it's one of them where you said at the start of the game, what would you take? They've definitely taken a draw, but for them to be so close into it and to kind of concede the way they did and let Atletico back into it was disappointing. But I think it's a real sign of positivity. They've obviously got the Man City backing. I did look at a few of the players they brought in. They're clearly paying something in wages, which is probably above the budget that they would normally have if they were kind of independently owned. You know, I looked at Muniaza going there from Stoke. Well, he must be on 25, maybe 30 a week, and that's unlikely for Girona to be paying that for a team at their level when they get crowds of 12 to 15,000. So that's a massive impact, but it's a fantastic story, and I think it shows a little bit the increasing depth of La Liga as well. I know it's been criticised, but for them to hold Atletico to a draw on the first day of the season just shows that they're not going to be a pushover, and it's a strong addition for the league. So yeah, Atletico look like this season they're just going to try and stay in the top four, move to the new stadium, transfer ban. It's a big season for them. I just think it's all about stability and finishing in the top 3 or 4, to be honest.
Yeah, good kit again though. Atletico, good set of kits as usual. I'm keeping my eye on the kits, so well done them. Big fan of the sort of stripes with the things in them. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, moving on. Let's have another look at another game. Sevilla Espanyol, 1-1 draw on the Saturday night. This was bit of a crazy game. This, I thought it's really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. Espanyol being gifted an equaliser though. Sevilla got in front and looked fairly composed. I thought they were legit, or they deserved their lead. They were sort of overall the better side. Clement Longley just about getting a touch from a corner which almost went all the way in. But then Leo Baptistao, who probably could have got 3 on the night, absolutely gifted the equaliser before Ever Banega received one of the most stupid sendings off I've ever seen on his return to Seville. Espanyol full merited the point though, didn't they, despite being gifted that equaliser?
Yeah, they did. I think it was, quite even in the end, really. I think with Sevilla, it started so well last season, but I don't know how they do start well. And I think this is maybe different because they have so many new players every single new season. Look at the team on Saturday. I think there was 5 or 6 La Liga debuts in the team. So Sevilla, you would expect that will get better as the season develops, and obviously a new coach in Berizzo. You would expect them to push on as the season goes. But it's a decent point for Espanyol. Espanyol's plan is to get in the Champions League within 4 years from a year ago, so they've got 3 years left to do it. I'd expect them to be in the top 10. They've got Chinese investment, so it's a decent point for Espanyol to start the season, though, and I would expect them to have a decent season as well.
Yeah, definitely a good watch. That, as I say, must confess. So I did enjoy that one. Athletic, I should say. Athletic Bilbao drew 0-0 with Getafe on the Sunday. Probably less said about that one, the better. Wasn't the greatest spectacle in the world. There was a good game on Saturday night though, which we can briefly touch on. Celta Vigo losing at home 3-2 to Real Sociedad. The winner from Willian Jose in the last minute of that game. Another goal for Arreciabal, who we highlighted on the old school days of Hipsters Choice, which I know, sad times, it's dead, but I'm sure we'll still pick out some youngsters to talk about in the future. But yeah, good for Sociedad away from home in Vigo.
Really good result, and disappointing for obviously Luis Enrique's assistant and Zoe's and the Celta Vigo's manager, so it's a team I'm going to look out for. Apparently they played really good football all pre-season. They carried it on the weekend as well, kind of largely possession-based, and they'll be disappointed to be 2-1 up with 10 minutes left and then lose the game 3-2, but a great result for Sociedad, to be honest. And massive for Sociedad this summer was holding on to Inigo Martinez, who is linked away every summer, but Barca were really close and kind of almost agreed a fee with Sociedad, and then in the end it fell through. But that's a massive bonus for them because he's a big player for them, so they can push on. I did see that they're losing Carlos Vela though at Christmas. He's going to, I think it's LA Galaxy.
LA United. The franchise, yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see how he plays up until going, and then what they do about replacing him as well. But they'll be in the top 10, so they're for certain and pushing on. But disappointed for Celta because I kind of want them to do well. I did like him at Barca as the assistant, and he was the outside shout for the Barca job as well.
Yeah, I can hear Pat and Jimmy, our regular MLS guys, cursing me. It's LAFC, of course, not LA United, so I do apologise, MLS fans. Sorry. Speaking of which, by the way, Pat and Jimmy and I will be recording an MLS special soon, so just a quick cheap plug for that in between. Yes, a couple of other results. Leganes getting off to a good start with a 1-0 victory over Alaves. Gabriel with the goal there. Tonight's game, Levante Villarreal. Did that end 0-0?
No, 1-0 Levante last-minute winner.
Lovely
great
job.
for them to be back in La Liga with a win against Villarreal as well. So they're taking a draw, I imagine. But that's a great result for them. And I've been to that ground Levante. I saw Barca a couple of seasons ago. So it's great for them. And they did that great scheme where I think they froze the season, half the season ticket price. And then if you bought one last season, you got it for this season at that price. So it was full near enough tonight. So, it's good to have Levante back, actually. Good club.
Yeah, another good choice of kits as well, by the way. I can't help myself, can I? We'll finish our roundup with Valencia, who got a 1-0 victory over Las Palmas, which is probably not a huge surprise, given their sort of rebuild this summer, because they've done a lot of work, haven't they? Simone Zatsa with the winning goals, so he's still there. Gabriel Paulista has come in from Arsenal, which I'm not that bothered about, if I'm honest. They've also signed Jeffrey Kondogbia on loan today from Inter Milan. They're making some movements, aren't they, in the window? The squad seems to be changing shape. But we do say this every year, don't we? So what do we make of Project Valencia this season?
I think it's the first summer for a couple of summers that Peter Lim has kind of invested, which is what it needed. They seemed to do everything on the cheap last summer. I think once they got Marcelino as the coach, he was a serious coach and probably would walk instantly if the investment didn't follow what had probably been promised. They've had to kind of back it up. And he's a really good coach. You might as well give him the money to spend as well. So I think this season is probably the most serious they've been for a couple of seasons, really. And the squad looks a lot better. As Kondogbia, I think, is a decent signing. And they've lost Cancelo, though, to Inter. I don't know if that's just part of the deal or it's a separate deal, but he's left, which is a good player, Cancelo. But I think they'll be there or thereabouts, Valencia. And there could be a dark horse for the top four, which is where I see Valencia should be. I know the fans think they should win the league, but I do see them as a top four team in Spain. So it's good to have them back. And I just think somebody's got to crack it at Valencia again. I know Benitez did, but it's there. Everything's set up for them to go on and do well. I think Marcelo is probably the man who can bring success back to Valencia. So I think with some optimism, they can look into this season, to be honest.
Yeah, it would be good to see a club of that stature sort of rise back up, to where they probably should be, let's be honest. So, and we are talking ahead of a game that's now in progress, Malaga and Eibar as well. Any score in that one at the moment?
No.
No score. Okay, good stuff. So we'll of course have that one for next week's roundup. For then, is there a game you particularly want to highlight for next week for the fixtures coming up?
Is Madrid-Valencia Sunday night, 9:15. So that's come early in the season. At the Bernabeu, you'd expect Madrid to be strong at home, but obviously just been bigging up Valencia, so it's a decent game for them to get the teeth into quite early.
Woof, that's one for our listeners to keep a close eye on. That'll be certainly a decent look. Valencia also, I don't know if you know this, Joel, you probably do, but they're in advanced talks with PSG about loaning Gonzalo Guedes for the season, which I think would be a really good pickup for Valencia. He's a very skillful technical player who played in Portugal for Benfica, hugely highly rated before he went to PSG, and then sort of lost his way. Another one that PSG bought because they could and haven't really used. I think he'll fit Valencia very, very well. So he's one to keep an eye on. And is it Cancelo, the Portuguese lad they've got there already? Is he Portuguese?
Inter.
Oh, has he? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He's the fullback, isn't he?
Yeah, fullback winger. So he's either a converted winger from a fullback or a fullback from, I can't work out which way it is, but he plays both positions. But they're also signing, I can't remember who it was earlier, Andres Pereira from United on loan as well, who was at Granada last season as a decent player. So they're making decent signings to kind of.
It's just how they mesh now, isn't it? Just how they mesh. We shall see. Yeah. Project Valencia is underway, and as is La Liga. So obviously when we have Joel on the pod, if you've got any questions on anything, all Spanish or La Liga based, chuck us the old hashtag of La Liga, or tweet Joel directly. You can find him at Joel Melwar on Twitter. So give him a tweet, and I'm sure we'll get the questions answered as best we can. And you can tweet us anytime. We should say this. We always get a raft of questions late in the day, but you can tweet us or DM us anytime. Email us, as one of our listeners has, which I'll get to in a minute, with questions. We'll do our best to splice them into the show as we go. So Thank you very much for that update there, Joel. We're going to shift gears now on to where we're going to go. Let's do Italy and Germany together, because I say we've got a limited amount of information to give you this week. But between me and Josh, we're going to fudge our way through. Josh, you've seen a little bit of Italian football this weekend, so I'm going to maybe lean on you for that, and I'll have a look at Germany. Serie A got underway in John's absence. I'm sure he was watching. Inter got a 3-0 victory over Fiorentina. Milan got a 3-0 victory over Crotone, and Juventus got a 3-0 victory over Cagliari. Which of the three are you most excited about seeing this season? That's a good, nice open question to ask you, so you don't have to worry about the games too much.
I think out of all of those teams, I really like the transfer business that really late on is going on at Internacional. It looks to be that initially when you saw their city neighbours Milan bring in, what was it, about 250,000 players, I think they've signed.
250,005, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. And then about 6 going out on that. I think they looked incredibly strong, but I think Inter have had it up them, and they're starting to bring in some new signings. So they look really interesting for who can battle it out with Juve for that crown. I think Napoli are also going to be up there because they're playing some beautiful football. I think in terms of...
Did you see them against Verona? They got 3-1 win, an own goal from Milik and Fauzi Gulam, which was a wonderful hit, by the way. They were really good. I
saw the Milik goal, and I've watched a bit of them in pre-season because I'm just too hipster for my own good. And Dries Mertens is looking arguably the greatest Belgian forward in world football at the moment. Yeah. So I think that there's a really decent foursome going on there at the top. I think Roma, even with bringing in, they brought in Monchi, didn't they, at the beginning, who looked to be quite a coup, could get left behind unless they really do perform properly this season. But I just can't look past those 4. So inevitably, at least 2 of them will capitulate, and Juventus will win the title. But as is Italian football.
Yeah,
I didn't say who will capitulate, but that is how Italian football.
Someone will. Yeah. No,
Two will during the season, and I'm not naming any names yet.
You make a good point on Roma, actually, on Monchi, because I don't know whether, Joel, you want to come in on this as well, but obviously he did really amazing things at Sevilla over his time there. That's not in question at all. But I look at the signings Roma have made this summer, and there's a lot of sort of players that are maybe not peak players. I love Gregoire Defrel. I think that's an excellent buy. But you look at the likes of Alex Kolarov from Man City. They brought in who's the other? Gonalon, of course. Again, I love because he's French, of course, but maybe not a top market sort of signing. What do you reckon to that, Joel? Is it an element of Munchie just getting his feet under the table and buying in functional players, or is it maybe a sign that Roma can't attract the top levels, to use a Harry Redknapp version?
Yeah, I think Munchie does one or two things. He gets experienced players who are kind of on the way down and rejuvenate, or gets the coach to rejuvenate them. We saw that with kind of Nazari and Jovetic to a degree last season. We've seen it before with other players, even Freddie Canute back to those days. We also get these unknown players from nowhere, like Kuchoviak and Dani Alves, and he will do that as well. So I kind of see the Kolarov signing as being the first one. I'm not so certain. This could well be the fact that he's not had long enough to get his feet under the table and identify his targets, get his scouting teams in place. So you might not see the real best of Monchi till next summer, to be honest. But they did talk a lot about, and I don't know if it was a joke, taking his database with him. So
yeah,
I don't know. But it may be next summer you see the benefits of Monchi for Roma, to be honest.
Yeah, it takes time, doesn't it, to adjust to new country, new way of life, new style, new financial restrictions, the whole lot.
Yeah, I suppose that's it, Kris. I think he maybe needs to understand how the Italian game is set up for the players to bring in, to identify who they are and what their skill set will bring to the team in that as well.
And the draw of Serie A as well. You know, not every player wants to play in Serie A at the moment, and it's arguably along with Liga, I have to confess, but it's arguably the less attractive of the top 5 leagues, along with France. So, there is that obstacle as well. So, I think time will tell. I mean, they got off to a 1-0 win anyway. Alex Kolarov himself actually scoring on his debut with a free kick under the wall. We do like those. With a 1-0 win over Atalanta, who didn't have to put the pressure on late on, but couldn't squeeze out a result. Josh, just running through these other results, and as we say, into 3-0 scorers in that one, Icardi twice, and Perisic, who's been linked with that move away, but is still a Milan player. Kessie with a penalty on his debut for Milan. Very early red card in that one for Ceccherini for Crotone. Kind of killed the game, to be honest. 5 minutes in, he was sent off. Crotone and Suso with the other goals for Milan, so impressive for them. We've mentioned Napoli, Juventus, goals for them from Dybala, Higuain and Mandzukic with a 3-0 win over Cagliari on the opening night. Lazio, rather surprisingly, drawing 0-0 with Spal. I didn't see any of this game, I have to confess, but that was a surprise result, as was Sassuolo 0, Genoa 0. Two sides that can't usually defend, drew out a 0-0, so 2 surprising results there. And Benevento, losing on their opening day against Sampdoria. Had you heard of this team, Josh, or did you think they were an ice cream? Be honest.
Closer to ice cream than football team, put it that way.
I'm glad you were honest. I didn't even know they'd come up, because do you remember at the end of last season when John was doing his ever excellent breakdown of the Serie B playoff system? I think when we finished up last season, we didn't actually know who the third club were coming up. So there you go, it was Benevento. So I genuinely have no knowledge of them whatsoever. Shall we all learn something, boys and girls? I can tell you that they've got a red and yellow striped badge with what looks like a witch on the badge. Unconfirmed reports that is indeed a witch riding a broomstick on the badge, which is frankly fantastic. They've got a 20,000 capacity stadium, which is the Stadio Ciro Vigorito, I'm reliably informed. What else can I tell you? They have an email address and a phone number. They are indeed based in Italy. They were founded in 1929. And that's pretty much all I can tell you, if I'm completely honest. I'm looking at their squad and I do not recognise any of their players. This is really shoving me up, isn't it? Let's call myself a hipster. Actually, D'Alessandro I know in midfield. Not that one, but a younger version of. I know one player well. There we go. So there we are. Should we adopt this team as our Hipsters Pod team from Italy? I think we should, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, that badge alone. Please do look at it, guys and girls. If you're listening to this, do look it up. It's a wonderful badge. So there we go. The witches, as we shall now call them, will be our Serie A adopted side for the season. So they lost on the opening day, but they will be in our hearts forever.
I have to say they do have Puskas up front, so I'm expecting a lot of good goals from him.
Ah, yes, yeah. He must be 90 now. Or is he dead?
Apparently he's 21, so he's got an everlasting elixir that I believe is they've got in the from the Water Boys, but that's all I know as well.
He's drinking the special stuff. Good luck to him. So there we go. So your mission, listeners, if you're listening to this, is do your research on this team and then tweet us something that we didn't know about them. There you go. The gauntlet has been laid down. They do actually have Cataldi in midfield. I've just found actually. Danilo Cataldi used to play for Genoa and I want to say Lazio. I think it was Lazio. Anyway, so there we go. 2 players we know. Right, let's leave them behind, for God's sake, before we make it even worse. Only other result to bring to your attention, Bologna 1, Torino 1 on the opening day. Laic with the goal for Torino after Di Francesco had put Bologna in front. So that's Serie A for the week. Oh, sorry, I've missed a result. Udinese 1, Chievo 2. Winning goal from Walter Bersha in that game for Chievo. Good result there for them away from home for the Flying Donkeys. Right, Josh, you haven't seen any German football this weekend, have you? So I'll do my best to tell our listeners about what went on here, shall we? Bayern Munich, they won. That's a surprise, isn't it? Opening day victory over Bayer Leverkusen. I watched this one in full in the rain. Debut goals for Niklas Süle and Corentin Tolisso. Be Still Learner's Beating Heart. He literally scored from a yard, but he was very impressive on the day. And a bloke called Lewandowski, you might have heard of him, he got a penalty for the winning goals there for Bayern Munich. The goal back from Mehmedi was absolutely sensational, by the way, goal of the game, but it was in vain as Bayern Munich ran out 3-1 winners. Hoffenheim, they put their disappointment of the result against Liverpool to bed with a 1-0 victory over Werder Bremen. Kramaric with a heavily deflected goal. I did see this one. 6 minutes to go, got the winner there. Hertha Berlin off to a good start against newly promoted Stuttgart. Matthew Leckie with a double in that game. He's been linked with Brighton, by the way, Josh. I don't know if you've heard about that, but yeah, he got the winner. You did see the winning goal from Nikolai Müller for Hamburg against Augsburg. Anything you want to tell us about that goal?
Yeah, that was unfortunately the end of Muller's season after 8 minutes. He was the chap, if you've seen, during his celebration, scored the goal in the 8th minute, went round, did a big old helicopter spin, caught his boot in the turf and done his ACL. So he's out for 7 months, the poor chap. So yeah, he's had a very short beginning to his season. So I think we'll see him in April again.
Poor bugger. Talented as well. This is what happens when you don't do the Alan Shearer politely run to the centre circle with your arm aloft celebration. Don't celebrate, kids. It's dangerous.
We should bring handshakes back. That's it.
Yes.
Sir Stanley Matthews style. That's it. Handshake and a good pat on the back.
Like that sketch on Harry Enfield where they all sort of run to the centre circle with the massive shorts and the black and white. Yeah, that's the way to do it. So yeah, poor luck for him. Better luck for Martin Harnik, who got the winning goal for Hanover away from home against Mainz on the opening day. So 1-0 victory there. Plenty of 1-0s. Wolfsburg, Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund looked impressive, have to say. They won 3-0 in Wolfsburg. Kit alert, Wolfsburg's is lovely, but their defending was not. Christian Pulisic with the opening goal. Mark Bartra, who Joel will know well, got the second, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang got his season off and running after deciding to stay with the German club. He got the third goal. Do just quickly want to bring Joel in here, actually, if I may. Joel, Barcelona, we talked earlier on about them needing reinforcements to their squad. Christian Pulisic looks a Barcelona player to me, as in the way he plays the game, the way he moves, his technical ability. Is he one that you might think Barcelona might have a little sniff at before the window closes if they're looking for a technical midfielder?
They should, but they won't.
Good answer.
Not seen linked anywhere. They've got the targets identified, but he is a player I think, definitely fits the mould of a Barcelona player. I just don't know. It's hard to guess what the sporting director is looking at, to be honest, because there seems to be a lot of players out there who they're not looking at who you think would fit them. We talk about Asensio, they missed him 2 seasons ago for €2 million, so that sums it up. So yeah, there are a lot of these players we think would be a fit, and obviously he would be a player that they should be looking at. But yeah, I can guarantee there won't be. To be honest.
Sad times. Did you see the Bartra goal, by the way? Did you see this?
Yeah.
Josh wants to know, did you know he had it in his locker? Because it's a wonderful strike, wasn't it?
He's technically great player and a great defender. The Barca fans still really want Barca to play a massive part and to regret selling him, but he just lacks pace. But on the ball, and obviously the strike he's got, he's just fantastic football. He just lacks pace. If he had Umtiti's pace, he'd be a £100 billion defender, to be honest. He's got everything but that. So which is detriment. But on the ball, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I did know that in his locker, to be honest. But not. I remember him scoring a Copa del Rey final, but it was with his head. So.
Yeah, and good for him after what he went through last season with the whole incident and whatnot. Yeah, good start to his season and a lovely goal, has to be said. Moving on to Schalke, who beat RB Leipzig 2-0. Goals from Nabil Bentaleb, penalty, and Yevgen Konoplyanka, who's still there, believe it or not. Good result that for Schalke. Disappointing start to RB Leipzig's new guys. They're not Red Bull Leipzig, of course, anymore. They are only RB Leipzig this season. So, Champions League will be their focus, but not the best start for them. Freiburg, the mighty Eagles, Eintracht Frankfurt drew 0-0. So the two clubs I follow in Germany with a 0-0 to start the season. God bless them. I have to say, very tempted to purchase the away strip for Eintracht Frankfurt this season. It's delightful. See, I'm back on kits again. And finally, John's Borussia Mönchengladbach, 1-0 victory over FC Köln, the winner from Elvedi. Lovely goal, actually. Did see a little bit of this. Just turned over as they scored, which was nice. So, yeah, good goal and a good win for Gladbach. As far as a game to look out for, we should have done this for Serie A, shouldn't we? That's really bad planning of me. We'll come back to Serie A in a second when I can find one. But next week's fixtures, glancing down the list here, Dortmund Hertha on the Saturday evening. That's a decent looking game. To be honest, that's probably the standout fixture. Bayern Munich are away at Werder Bremen. For those of you interested, that might be worth a watch, although I kind of think I know which way that result's going to go. So it's probably the early season standout fixtures for next weekend's games. Just very quickly, parachuting back into Serie A for next week's fixture to look out for. Roma Inter, anyone on Saturday night? I think that'll probably be worth a watch, won't it? I'm sure John's nodding along somewhere. So yeah, Roma Inter definitely the one to watch in Serie A. That leaves us with just one league to look at then, and of course it's France. Before we finish with some of your questions, so I guess this is the part where I just talk as I have done for the last 5 minutes. So I'll carry on. Feel free to chip in as you wish. Don't worry, Joel. I shall be talking to you about Neymar in a second. But before I do, let's focus on Monaco, who won 1-0 at Metz. Of course, Liga is 3 games deep now. So for those of you who don't know, 3 games played for all of the clubs in Liga. Metz lost at home to Monaco. 1-0 victory for the Monegasques with Radamel Falcao yet again the hero. Might need to be a bit more of that because it does appear that Kylian Mbappe's stay with Monaco appears to be coming to a rather sticky end. Training ground bust up with Andrea Raggi. He's apparently, quote now, singled himself out and taken himself out of the social group at Monaco and is essentially training with his head down and his headphones in, as it were. He's isolated himself from the group. So I think a move to PSG is very much likely in the coming days. It's a shame that it has to end that way, but hey ho. Olympique Lyonnais and Bordeaux, 3-3 victory. 3-3 thriller, I meant to say. In this one, really good game this. Have any of you two seen Nabil Fekir's goal?
Is that the one from the halfway line?
That's
or
the
just
one,
inside his own half?
Yes, Joel, you need to look this one up. It's an absolute stunner. It is very much, it's not your David Beckham floaty over the top kind of halfway line goal. It's more your Xabi Alonso goal where he laces down, thuds it over the goalkeeper from the halfway line. It's a wonderful goal. It really is. If you haven't seen it, do look it up. And then Tete and Traore getting goals. Traore's free kick actually for Lyon was also tasty. There was a lot of good goals in this game. One of Malcolm's 2 goals was exceptional as well. And Laraja with a late goal. 2 goals in the last 2 minutes for Bordeaux, securing them a point. So yeah, very, very good. Sergi Darder, who you'll know well, Joe, as well, was sent off in this game, 36 minutes for 2 bookable offences. So Lyon probably will feel that's points dropped. Montpellier, Strasbourg, that ended in a 1-1 draw. Congre equalising Sadi's opening goal for Strasbourg, who are having a good start to Liga life, it has to be said. Strasbourg, they won 1, drawn 1, lost 1. Nice with a much needed victory over Guingamp. They've had a really poor start to their season, culminating with an absolute battering against Napoli in the Champions League in midweek. But Wesley Sneijder making his debut, Alessandro Playa and Remy Volta with the goals. Any of you see, I doubt you have, but see Remy Volta's celebration in this game? Anybody see this?
Not that I know of.
Well, it wasn't particularly an amazing celebration, but it was more interesting that eagle eyes will have spotted as he ran away with his arms aloft. He still had the tag to his jersey attached. So I think it's safe to say Nice had their shirt straight out the club shop. So there it was, flapping in the wind. So it's the little things you see when you notice certain things in games. So that was amusing. Dijon, they cut mustard quite nicely. There's the first one of the season of that joke. 2-0 down at home, away to Rennes. Mubele with a double, but Dijon rallied and got a last-minute equaliser from Julio Tavares from the penalty spot to secure a 2-2 draw after Kwan had got one back for them. St Etienne, who I'm kind of following closely this season because they're actually slightly entertaining this year. Josh, you'll remember good old Oscar Garcia. Well, he's manager there these days. And Jonathan Bamba, Brian Darboe with a double, secured a 3-0 win over Amiens. And that is 3 out of 3 for St Etienne and +5 goal difference. Who'd have thought it? Goals from St Etienne. I know. We also got 1 goal for Claudio Ranieri's Nantes. Salah with the winning goal. 10 men as well. As Azim was sent off in that game. But a 1-0 victory for Ranieri over Troyes. Lille, the Bielsa project. It's not particularly gone brilliantly. Won their opener and looked brilliant, and have lost the 2 since then. They lost at home to Caen, 2-0. Goal from Damien De Silva and Santini, the Croatian forward, with a 69th minute second. We also saw Marseille struggle a little bit, a 1-1 draw with Angers in the Sunday game. They were in front through Clinton and G, but Toko and Cambe with the goal back equaliser for Angers. Just Raheem Sterling equalises for Manchester City, by the way. Live updates for you there. And finally, a game that I'm sure we can all three of us discuss quickly. PSG 6 to lose 2. Thriller minute. Let's start with you, Josh, because you saw this game, didn't you, in full? I think I'm right in saying. Some fantastic goals. You leave Neymar out for a minute because I'm going to let Joel. I'm going to break his heart a little bit in a minute. But PSG impressive or a little bit fortunate? Which way did you see it? Because there were some good spells, but they didn't have to concede 2 sloppy goals.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a bit of praise for Toulouse and a player that I really like and glad to see him get some game time. Max Gradel, what a goal that was.
Yes.
So cross in from the right hand side, and if I remember rightly, he catches it first time unmarked in the penalty spot with a volley that I don't think Areola, their goalkeeper, couldn't do anything about that, to be fair, because it's just smashed straight at him, just underneath him. There's nothing he can do, really. It's just some poor marking from PSG. But to be honest, when you've got that forward line that they've now assembled, I think the way to get a decent forward line is to have a Brazilian, a Uruguayan and an Argentine in there. I don't think they really needed a decent defence, because even after losing Marco Verratti, they still managed to put another 4 goals past a then very sad looking Toulouse.
Yeah, it was pretty comfortable. Did you the Verratti sending off? Absolute stupidity though from him. Such a good footballer, but my goodness me, what was it? Rocks for brains with those 2 challenges.
Yeah, there was a lot of swearing when I saw the second one of
yes.
What are you doing, and a lot of expletives.
Did you see Thiago Silva sort of escorting him off the pitch with his hand over his mouth, saying, "Please do not say anything stupid"? Yeah.
It was it was a stupid tackle to make. Another good goal as well from the left back from the corner, Kazawa.
From the corner. Yeah.
Oh, what a goal that was! That was a Neymar assist, but I think you want to leave Joel to Neymar for his sins.
A special honourable mention to the man who Neymar took his shirt from, Javier Pastore. Delicious curling goal from him, absolutely beauty. That was probably the goal of the game. Before Neymar introduced himself to Paris and in style, Joel, we skipped over it earlier on. How do you feel? Are you sort of distraught at losing Neymar? Obviously, it was such a strange. How it happened so fast and all of a sudden came out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden he's a PSG player. He's adored in Paris, I can tell you that much. The fans are overjoyed to see a player of his ability. There was a rainbow flick in this game. He got the opening goal from a deflected Rabiot cross that the goalkeeper palmed back out to him. And then he did what Neymar does. A delightful goal, really. The close control. And ability, and I've seen it all over social media. It's only to lose. It's only the crummy French league. Yada yada yada. But that's just brilliant ability, isn't it? That goal, and that's what Neymar does best.
Yeah, he does. And I think the thing with Neymar is he's a star. He's a star player, and he's a star draw for the fans. And the way I can sum up losing from Barcelona, losing Neymar is they've lost a star player, and that's so hard to replace. And There aren't many in the world. So Barca's lost his Paris' game massively. He'll bring a massive dimension to their game. I think he just gives you an outlet. He's kind of courageous with the ball. He wants the ball all the time, and he makes things happen. I think he'll play a slightly different role for Paris in that he'll probably play off the left but come inside a lot more than he did Barcelona, obviously because he had Messi there and he didn't need to do that. But I think he will be the leader for the team, and I think I'm disappointed he's left Barcelona. I think the way it kind of happened towards the end, it dragged on a little bit, and I think he wasn't as honest as probably he should have been, and I think he lost maybe some of the fans turned against him. Not all, but some did, just because it felt protracted. And I think from day one he was always going to leave, and I think he maybe played the club a little bit too long. But he got his move, and I think he's given nothing but great service to Barcelona, and he will be a massive star for PSG. I don't agree with all the kind of stuff I saw on Twitter over the weekend about his own league and all this. I get that to a degree. I think judge Neymar on kind of what he'll do in the Champions League, and I think he does stand a much, much better chance of winning the Ballon d'Or playing for PSG than he did for Barcelona, albeit they've had to wait maybe 3 or 4 years to win it at Barcelona when Messi goes and he can stand a step out of that shadow. But I think he will go from strength to strength at PSG, and he's just made them now a team that kind of will be feared around Europe, and it's amazing what one player can do. They're such a fantastic team anyway. I just think you add him to it, and he will bring the level of the other players around him up as well, naturally. So it's a massive pull for PSG, and I think it's disappointing from Barcelona. And I think the other point on that is they can't replace him. They can try and they can go for Dembele, they can go for the players. He is irreplaceable because there's not another Neymar available, and that's when you get to these elite players, there are not a ready-made replacement because they don't exist, because that's the reason they're an elite player. So, and he's in that bracket, but all they can do is try. But I think for PSG, it's a great signing, and we didn't actually think it's possible, and then it just easily was. So, fair play to PSG for financing it and doing it, and actually putting the money where the mouth is, to be honest.
Yeah, here. And I completely agree with you as well. I think there's been a lot of very snuffy people, particularly on social media, about criticising his reasons for moving. And, you know, obviously I'm a little bit protective of my dear old Farmers League, as people call it. But I do think there's been a lot of very sniffy people and people that have almost tried to peddle this agenda that Neymar's taken a step down, and you know he's proven it at the top level now for Barcelona, having come from Santos, that he can do it at elite level. And as you rightly say, as long as Lionel Messi is at Barcelona, you know, even Luis Suarez is not going to be the elite level player as long as Messi's there, and that's sometimes a player of Neymar's age. Was he 24, 23?
25.
25. Oh, you've gone all roboty there, Josh. That was interesting. 25. You know, he's still at the peak of his powers, and as you say, Joe, if he can go to PSG and be the man, I mean that whole squad is built for him to succeed. And if he can take that club to winning the Champions League, he will go down in history. So, yeah, I'm fair play to him for taking that chance. And yes, he's gonna.
My only criticism of him is he needs to stop doing the shoelaces thing, advertising his boots. I just think it's ridiculous, and
I'm intrigued. Have I missed something here?
You'll notice this. He kind of ties his shoelaces at odd times when the game's going on, and then the camera then is naturally drawn to him tying his laces. And there's a theory that it's via Nike to get the boots kind of centre screen shot, because when we normally get that, it cost them Barcelona a goal last season when he did it. He didn't track his runner, and the right fullback ran past him and ended up scoring, and he was down tying his laces. And there was a time when Luis Enrique kind of gave him a bit of a rollicky on the sideline because he was doing it. And there's a number of people said that there's a lot in it actually, and that he does do it for effect. You'll notice that his shoelaces come undone more than any other player I've ever seen. Yeah, I think twice it was last night. So.
Very interesting. So there you go. There's something you can keep an eye on. I think I vaguely remember you actually mentioning it last season. Now I think about it, but
you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I will be looking out for that now. I will be, but I have to confess to you, Joel. This very day, I ordered a Neymar shirt. I did. So I've become one of them people. I know, but I do like the PSG home shirt, and I couldn't help myself. 75 quid though, bit of a stretch, isn't it? Really. No.
I actually thought it was quoted at €130. That's not so bad.
I think there's two shirts, isn't there? That you can buy, like the player shirt, which even though I'm on a fitness kick, I'm not in the sort of shape that I need to be in to pull one of them off. Or there's the standard Johnny down the pub shirt, which is the one I've gone for. So, yeah, less said the better. But I couldn't resist, so that will join my Leon shirt that I've bought this season as well. So there you go. As me, I'll support all the clubs. I'm a full on flat track bully supporter. I'll just follow all the big clubs. Anywho, so there we go. That's Neymar and that's France done for another week. Got a couple of questions which we're gonna finish off with. Oh, I should find a game for you for next week, shouldn't I? What should we fancy watching next week? Monaco Marseille. I think it's the obvious choice, but Sunday night 8:00. I think that's on BT on Sky. PSG St Etienne though. If you haven't got much to do on a Friday night, have a look at that because it's quite a good rivalry. And St Etienne, as I say, much improved this season. So if you fancy watching Neymar in his boots, then there you go. There's a game for you on the Friday night. So give that a little looky as well. Right, we will finish then with a couple of your questions just to round off the show, and then we're out of your hair. So let's see what we've got here. First question actually comes in from email. Let's get that one done. This is from our good friend Kris H, who sends us in a random email every once in a while. So thank you very much to you, Kris. He simply wants to ask Payet or Depay. I suppose I should answer this. For me, Payet all day long. Depay has got the talent, but doesn't always show it. Same could be said for Dimitri Payet, in truth. Either of you feel differently? Do you prefer Payet or Depay, or do you just not care?
Depends what Depay is. Depay at PS3, yeah, Depay. Depay at United, definitely Payet. But I think Payet overall, actually, I think it's got more to him.
Yeah, I'm with you actually on that. I think, yeah, I'm very much with you actually on that. I think it's if you go for somebody in the Depay mode, you know you're going to get 3 pretty poor performances for every one worldie. So I suppose the same could be said for Payet, but yeah, I'm with you on that one. This next question is, where have I found it? Serie A question from our good friend Mike Filetti. Thanks for sticking with us, Mike. Appreciate it as always. What's your guys' take on Serie A? Do you think Juve are strong enough to retain it? Josh, you can have that one. You said earlier on you fancied Juve to retain. Is that because you haven't got faith in the challengers, or is it because you just think it's Juventus and they'll just do what Juventus do?
Not too sure on overall what the how the season will go. I've got a sneaking suspicion that I had early in the summer that AC Milan could do it and win the Scudetto. I know, it's really, really bold. I'm putting my neck out on the line. We didn't do it in the Championship preview show with me and Ross. I think we were quite safe on that one. So I'll go big. AC Milan to win the Scudetto.
Okay, I'm going Napoli. Joel, you got a theory or thought on Serie A?
Yeah, I think Juve will win the league, but I think the increased kind of competition from both Milan clubs is kind of a good thing for Juve because it'll make them more competitive. Because they're going to have to be, because I think they'll be a lot closer.
Interesting. So 3 different results from all of us hipsters. For those of you who love John, there must be at least 2 of you out there. John hasn't left. If you missed the first show, he's still with us, but he's a very busy man in his working life and his professional life. So he's not able to pod with us on a regular basis, but he will pop up here and there at some point, I'm sure. And don't worry, I won't let him get away without us doing a special at some point for his thoughts on Italy. So John will be back at some point. Josh, I want to stick with you because this is a kind of an Arsenal-y question, so I'll give you this one. Carl James O'Reilly, with all eyes on the market, there's a hidden gem out there in midfield, e.g. Jean-Michel Seri. Oh, I get upset. Is there anyone you think who could replace the Cazorla input? Anybody you fancy? Anybody you've noticed you'd go for in European football, world football?
To replace Santi Cazorla, I would go with Granit Xhaka. To be difficult because I think if you just move that formation around and put 2 box-to-box midfielders around him to give him a little bit of protection, then he will become that Cazorla role. I don't believe in the three at the back fully. I would say whilst we're still winning with it, we should continue, but obviously this weekend changed that. But ultimately, I think that it's going to be we should be looking at a four at the back system, like a 4-3-3, to really get the best out of Xhaka, unless we look to go two up top and then do something about the mysterious Mesut Ozil, because I think that's the problem that you've got. It's not saying that Ozil's a problem. I think personally, for me, he was Arsenal's best player on the day because he just created so much. It just wasn't his fault that every chance went to a Danny Welbeck who couldn't finish for Toffee, unfortunately. Yeah, there's no damning indictment on it. You know what you're getting when you've got a Danny Welbeck in your squad. But I think, I don't think there is a player like Cazorla. He is very unique. You know, two-footed, technical, but also got such a wonderful dribble on him that he can intercept and dispossess via dribbling, if you know what I mean. That you get those players that are so good at dribbling, they can just take the ball off players rather than committing like a more orthodox tackle. And I think that's what you get with Cazorla. And I don't think there's anyone like that out there, really, to do that role. And again, the problem Arsenal have had for so many seasons is a reliance on a certain type of player that somehow happens to be unique in the game, and it's not a good way to go.
No, agreed. I was amazed actually that Malaga sold Ignacio Camacho to Wolfsburg in the summer. I was amazed that no big clubs were in for him. I thought he was a player that could have done a job in that kind of role. Different type of player, of course, but I was amazed nobody went for him. Just so everyone knows, my pick for that obviously is Jean-Michel Seri, but if we can't have him, then for me you could buy Thomas Lemar still and you can convert him into that player. I genuinely think you could do that, but we shall see, I guess. But yeah, he'd be my pick for obvious reasons because I love him. Let's have another question, shall we? I've just got a couple more to go. I'm saving Tom's question for you, Josh, because I know you've done some research. So in that case, I shall give this one to Joel. Probably an awkward one for you to answer, Joel, because it's French-based, but I'm sure you know enough about Project Marseille at the moment with the Frank McCourt money, etc. He said, do you think they're going in the right direction? Or what do you think of the direction they're going in? Do you agree with it? I don't know if there's a club that you can compare them to in Spain, but essentially a club with a massive history of success, both on the European and domestic stage, that are given some money, but are finding it really hard to attract some big names. I suppose we're going to say Valencia again out here, aren't we? But I mean, what do you think of Marseille? I mean, you know, they're in the Europa League. Luis Gustavo's probably the pick of their signings this summer. But yeah, they can't attract the big names. So what do you make of their project?
I think it's all set up, Marseille, historically and right now to be a team to be reckoned with, isn't it? It's difficult, isn't it, once they've kind of fallen behind PSG so much. Obviously, Monaco's at a resurgence. For them to come back from where they've been quite quickly, you need to throw huge money at it. And are we saying they can't attract players because they're not paying their salaries, or the players are not willing to go to Marseille?
It kind of. I think it's just they've gone after some what you would call middle level players. Even an Olivier Giroud they went for. He's not, and I love Giroud, but he's not it's not like they've done what PSG have done and said, right, we're going to go after a Neymar and get him. You know, a Man United of a Lukaku or Pogba last summer. They've got plenty of money, but I think they're finding it hard to sell the project to a really big name. Like I think if I was in their shoes, I'd be now looking at it and going after I'm just trying to think of a name. I don't know who's out there, but I don't know if you can think of anyone in the La Liga that might be a real marquee signing that they could just go and throw a lot of money at and get in. And they're not doing that. And I think that's where the question comes from Ariane H, by the way. So yeah, I don't know whether you think they could.
Yeah, I think with that, though, if you are a player and you want to win things, are you really going to win things at Marseille as it stands at the minute when PSG are probably going to win, or Monaco are going to win practically each trophy in France? That is a difficult sell, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. And I suppose you've got to be in the Neymar mindset, haven't you? Do you want to be the big fish in
Yeah.
the smaller pond or not. I mean, it's yeah, I know what you mean. So I suppose the answer is we don't know.
Exactly. I think to get back in the Champions League, that's such a bigger pull than the Europa League.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I agree with that.
that's when you can really start to attract players. I find it odd because sometimes for some players it can be 6 games, but
Yeah.
still the Champions League is a massive pull for players. Such as Riyad Mahrez, who's probably going to go to Roma. He's willing to leave the to go play in Italy just to be in the Champions League. It seems.
Yeah.
So,
That's very true. Yeah, it's very, very true. They're the sort of club you play FIFA with, and then do that whole unlock unlimited budget thing, and then buy like massive players. This is kind of one of those. So, by the way, EA, if you're listening, could you not limit the financial takeover to only 3 times playing the game? That really bugs me. Anyway, not that I need money to succeed. Honest. I know, Josh. I know you're better than me. I know. One very quick question to Joel from me, actually. It's probably a one-word answer, but I'll give you a sentence as well. Messi or Ronaldo, who has the better season this season?
Messi, obviously. But I genuinely believe that. I think he's got a lot to prove. I think the Ballon d'Or, what will sway it is the Ballon d'Or will probably go to Ronaldo in January because it's already decided probably now. So therefore, that will be motivation for Messi to go and win it again. So it just generally changes hands, that thing, doesn't it? So I think once Ronaldo gets the Ballon d'Or again, it will fire Messi up, and then we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, I genuinely think he'll have the better season. But the reliance is far too much on him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And well justified balance-wise as well. That was good. Good work. I sprung that on you. This final question to me is coming from PG Naz, a good friend in France. How big a loss to French football is the liquidation of Bastia, starting over in the 5th tier? Simple answer to that, PG. None whatsoever. Could not give a you-know-what. Now, in all seriousness, it's a shame for the club. Obviously, they've got a loyal fan base, a heavily racist neo-Nazi fan base. But, they're still a club at the end of the day. You'd like to think they can rebuild and start afresh with a new style and new players, but unfortunately they're always going to have that fan base, and as long as they're based in that stadium there'll always be problems. So they're no loss. They are no loss. It's good that they're starting again, but I think bad things happen to bad people at times, and unfortunately the club of Bastia are having to be punished for their supporters and the way they do things. And to be fair, some of the management at Bastia is not the best either in terms of hierarchy. They haven't helped in calming what is a really, really bad club right now. So no loss for me. Right, final question then. Josh, over to you. This one, he's back, isn't he? He's back. Our good friend Tom, who sent us a lovely picture of him at the PSG game the other night. So thank you for that, Tom. I hope you had a good time. Check out our Twitter feed to have a look at that. It's a super little picture. Given the enormous fees clubs are paying for players this transfer window, are there any smaller fee transfers that you see being great? You've been doing some research, haven't you? Because I could never have answered this without quickly looking it up.
So I have to admit, most of these are all from England. Actually, they all are.
That's fine.
And yeah, because to be honest, all of the huge fees I've seen have all been in England, really, and between English clubs. So looking at a couple that have really kind of gone under the radar. To be honest, to be really hipster, I knew a couple of these, just had to double check on the fees. Top of the list, we saw him score this weekend, Aaron Moy for Huddersfield. Only £8 million from Man City. Never kicked a ball for him, but he certainly looks like he can do a job in the Premier League. We saw him last year just absolutely controlling the Championship, and I think he's a really, really decent signing. Another one we've mentioned this evening, Kiko Firmino at Watford. He was a free transfer from Alaves. I think from what he did there last year, hopefully he can replicate that kind of form for them. Another one I will go with, just a quick one, Pontus Jansson's loan deal was made permanent at Leeds, and that was only for £3.5 million. I'm sure that would have been higher had they not have had that already negotiated prior to his loan deal, because he was absolutely fantastic there and could easily be playing in the Premier League. And the last two from the Premier League, Lemina, who's just gone to Southampton. I think he might be injured for the next game. He got a nasty gash in their match. Came from Juve for about 12 million off the top of my head. I'm sure that's going to rise based on success, but it's a very, very savvy deal there. And one final one, a player that I'm absolutely shocked has left Man City, Iheanacho to Leicester.
Yeah.
I think that one for 25 million for the number that we've seen forwards going for across this window. Even Lacazette at 52 million looks an absolute bargain compared to other prices that you've seen bounce around. But I think Iheanacho looks to be a really good signing, especially if Leicester can get him firing alongside a Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know, Joel, do you know of any in Spain? I've got a couple in France I can chuck in the mix, but any that come to mind in Spain that you can just think off the top of your head that have been cheap and will come good potentially?
Fornells went from Malaga to Villarreal, a really good young Spanish player to buy out for 12 million euros, which in today's market is cheap. I'm trying to think of some other signs. I'll go for Semedo because I think at 37 million euros that's a decent sign for somebody who's 22. I'll go for Semedo.
Cool. If any more come to mind, you can chuck them at me. I'll just throw a few into the mix. A signing that actually ended up in Italy from France. This is just absolute steal. I don't know if you guys have heard of Adam Unas, who's gone to Napoli. 10 million euros as an absolute steal from Bordeaux.
Yeah, Brighton were linked with him, and I know we're scouting him quite heavily at the end of last season.
Yeah, 10 million euros. It's just nothing. That's a really, really good piece of business. I also like the signing of Lois Diony, who's a player I really, really like, who's gone to St Etienne. He moved for, how much did he move for? Frankly, look, 8.5 million euros. Again, he was at an unfashionable club, but I think that's an excellent bit of business. This guy called Neymar, that's value. That's quite cheap. No, wait, hang on a minute. Sorry, no, 220 million, maybe not. All jokes aside, though, I think Giovanni Lo Celso to PSG. It was kind of last season signing now, but he's a wonderful, talented player. I think if that comes good, that could also be a really good, shrewd bit of business in a world where PSG spend millions. That wasn't an expensive deal, and I think he's gonna come good. So they're probably the ones that I pick out. I'm sure there are hundreds more, but without time to research all that, we might have to look it up for next week maybe.
Can do a quick one from Italy. There's a couple in there. I would go with both to AC Milan, Ricardo Rodriguez for 16 million, and it's a toss up between two of them, but I'm going to go with Bonucci. Just getting him in general for anything less than 40 million was incredible. But also a special shout out for Hakan Çalhanoğlu. That's how you say it. He went for less than 20 from Bayer Leverkusen. They've done some absolutely stunning deals in this window. Even Frank Kessie as well as another one.
I've just thought of one I can actually give to Joel if he wants it. Mariano Diaz, 8 million euros from Real Madrid to Lyon. He's hit the ground running in France. I think his game suited well there as well.
Yeah, I think they've got a really low buyback, haven't they?
Yeah.
I read that somewhere.
Is it 20 million euros?
It's something really low.
Yeah.
There's one I've thought of, Rocky Mesa from Las Palmas to Swansea.
Is that the kid that they're really excited about at Swansea?
Yeah, he's got like the moustache and pulls his shorts really high. He's a really, really good player, to be honest. Really good player. Yeah. So he was brilliant for Las Palmas.
There you go. So there's a few to get your teeth stuck into. So splendid. Bertrand Traore, as Josh just picked out as well, 12.5 million to Lyon, another good bit of business. So there's plenty there. I'm also really excited about Alan Saint-Maximin's transfer to Nice from Monaco. He's a player I really, really like. So he's another one to keep an eye on, if not for nothing else but the dreadlocks. But there you go. So that answers that question. And we've had one very last quick one in. I'll squeeze it in just because it's our first bumper show. Again from Max Cachoya. Kuchaika. Sorry, Max. Will this be the season Adrian Rabiot establishes himself as one of the best midfielders in the world? I'm a big fan of his. He seems to be one of those midfielders who can do a bit of everything. Also, sweet left foot and top locks, as in hair. Max, I don't think so personally. I've got reservations about Rabiot myself. I think he's a hugely talented player and has definitely got his focus back after going walkies a little bit for a season or two. But one of the best in the world, I'm not so sure. I think time will tell. I don't think he's in that Verratti kind of mould as of yet. And I'm not sure. I think he'll play enough games, but I'm just not sure he can make that real elite step up. But I will be happily proved wrong. So, yeah, we shall see what happens with him. I happen to think that he'll be at PSG for a long time, having not moved on. So he's got time on his side, definitely. But there you go. Okay, right, that is that then. As I will do at the end of every podcast, I will ask my trusty cohorts here, any other business, gentlemen, anything you feel we have not discussed that you'd like to mention, or anything you'd like to plug, or anything at all?
Nothing from me.
Yeah, only for me that Malaga I buy still 0-0 after 55 minutes.
I have it on my screen now. I'm watching it. It's a decent game from what I've seen so far. So good stuff. Only bit of business for me. If you want to embarrass us at fantasy football via the Premier League, you can. We're all terrible. Well, I'm certainly terrible. I've got two teams in. I think they're both bottom. I'm that bad. But if you want to join our league, it's the Premier League, the official Premier League website's Fantasy Football League. You can join using this code. Are you ready, boys and girls? 2362581-557549. Obviously, we're into the season now, so you're going to lose points, but you can still get a team in. I think we've had quite a few, haven't we, Josh? There's quite a few in there crammed in. We've got about 40-odd people in there.
Yeah, it's about there. I'm horribly mid-table at the moment.
Early days.
Yeah, I generally start awfully and have a nice run at the end to finish top four.
And shall we do that thing we do every season where we promise the winner of it will get a present from us and we never actually give them anything? Should we do that again?
Yeah, I'm sure I can find something hipstery. Maybe like a Tuber Akpom shirt I don't want anymore.
Well, I feel really bad because we have promised our listeners that who was it one last year? The chap in America. If you're listening, chap in America, remind me who you are. I've probably got it in the DM somewhere, but we really should send them something, shouldn't we? So we'll try. We'll try and get something together this season and give the winner. I don't know. Maybe we'll give them a shirt of their choice or something. Oh, there's a goal for Ibar. There you go, Joel. Beautiful header at the back post. We're not going to give them a goal for Ibar. That would be too expensive. But yeah, we'll try. We'll try and think of something prize-wise. We'll do a raffle or something. I don't know. But there you go. So yes, please do join. And a bit of breaking news for us all. Kylian Mbappe apparently is close to sealing a move to PSG tonight, with Lucas Moura going to Monaco. 140 million euros. Seems like a good place to end, doesn't it? Sad times. So there you go. That is us then. It's been a bumper 2-hour plus start to the season for us in our new format. We probably won't do them this long every week, if I'm completely honest, because people will get sick of us. But lots to cram in. So please do give us some feedback. Stuff you like, stuff you don't like. Please do tweet us, DM us, email us, whatever it is you do. Send us a pigeon if you need to. But let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to add. We'll do our best to keep you listeners entertained. One show a week as of now. So sorry to those of you that enjoyed 2 shows, but the English Breakfast will continue as part of the main pod. So it'll just be one main pod as of this season, with a special here and there thrown in. So the usual crew will be back. So Ross will be here week on week, as he can be when his internet works. Our good friend James Truscott, who's part of our team, we didn't hear a lot of last season, but he'll be back in a larger capacity this season. John will be dropping in as and when he can, and of course us 3 will be here where we can as well. So thank you very much for all of our loyal listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you to you all who've been badgering us all summer about coming back. We are back. and we will continue for the season as best we can. So thank you all for listening. You can follow us at the FH Podcast, and of course the Hipsters Podcast at gmail.com if you want to email us. We're available on YouTube, SoundCloud and iTunes. Give us a review on iTunes. Only 5 stars, please. Only 5 stars, thank you. But yeah, leave us a comment on YouTube if it's nice, and we'll do our best to react to those as well. And again, reminder, if you've got any web-based queries or anything you want to ask somebody who knows his stuff, contact Kris at the 4 Elements team online at 4 Elements DES, and you can find them on Twitter, and you can get all your web needs sorted. Do it now. Thank you very much. Right. Pleasure to host as usual. Thank you very much to my guest. Thank you, Joel, and thank you, Josh.
It's been a pleasure as always, Kris.
And we'll be back next week. As I say, probably will be the Sunday, could be the Monday. We'll keep you posted on our Twitter feed. Thank you to you all for asking your questions. We've been the Football Hipsters. Keep your beers strong and your glasses trendy. And we'll speak to you very soon.